Hey, happy Monday. Welcome to the Wise Guys. There's just one more Monday after this before the season opener of BYU and Southern Illinois coming up a week from Saturday. I'm Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler. Welcome to the Wise Guys. The live stream is hopping right out of the gate. And we remind you, Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus. And this is the #1 global live stream show for BYU sports. And it turns into our popular podcast, which is out tomorrow. And that's available wherever you can get your podcasts.
And Henderson, Nevada is #1 in on the chat.
Nice job, Henderson.
They're doing a pretty good job. But, not far behind is St. George. And then Ridgecrest, California. Rob in from Ridgecrest. So California's in the house. Nevada's in the house. St. George, Utah's in the house. We welcome you all in. And we ask you to please subscribe to our free email at wiseguys.com. ysguys.com. You can go there, and while you're subscribing, you can look at the lineup that we have. Look at all of the past content this last 2.5 years now? How long is it?
Yeah, it feels like, 2.5.
2.5 years. Every interview we've ever done is right there. We would love it if you were to hit that subscribe button on your YouTube channel as well, if that's where you're watching tonight. That helps us keep the show rolling. It's also free. It'll help us grow the show. So subscribe at Wise Guys. Get the email. It'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on. And then also make sure you subscribe at YouTube because that helps us as well. We're glad to have you. Who else is in? Like San Antonio's in the house.
Good. San Antonio's awesome.
San Antonio's in the house.
Served my
Dallas.
mission in San Antonio. That's great. A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Many years ago. Hey, let's give you a presidential update.
That's right.
BYU President Shane Reese, Utah President Taylor Randall. They're rescheduling, and we look forward to having them. We're going to get them closer to the BYU-Utah football game. That's November 9th, so we've got a few working dates. They both vowed to come hang out with us, and we know they're sincere about it. President Reese had a couple of things he wants to work on before he comes to talk about. And one thing we're going to talk about are a lot of the things that BYU and Utah collaborate on.
Right.
That a lot of folks don't know about. These are two universities, unlike in some sporting events, don't hate each other. In fact, they work together more than you may realize. But anyway, so we're going to say, sure, you need a few more weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do.
And they're working on some of those. There's some things in progress that we know that they're working on behind the scenes that when they come on, they'll be able to talk about that they wanted to be a little bit further down the road. And we know with the announcement of the medical school at BYU, clearly BYU is going to partner with the University of Utah, who can show them the way on that front. And so we're really anxious to hear how this collaboration is going to work, what goes on behind the scenes with these two universities. And now that they're in the same league, what's that going to be like for sports? Because they'll compete in every intercollegiate sport.
And they're going to get after it.
Yeah, and they've been rivals, and they will continue to be rivals. But now that rival will even be more heated because it's not the WAC. It's not the Mountain West. It's not BYU Independent and Utah in the Pac-12. They're both in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Conference championships on the line when these two rivals meet. We'll talk to them about that too. So that's going to be fun. Wish they were here with us tonight, but they are committed to be on with us later.
So what it did was it opened the window for us to get Austin Collie, the Hall of Famer at BYU. He's going to join us. We're going to ask him point blank, if the game is tomorrow with Southern Illinois, who are you starting at quarterback?
Right.
Gary Bohannon or Jake Retzlaff? We'll get Austin's answer here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, and then we'll have more football. We'll follow that up with Isaiah Kaufusi. He's going to join our Game Day crew on BYUtv every Game Day, our 2-hour countdown show. He'll be here to tell you what he thinks about the Cougars, about that linebacking crew. And Isaiah's really close to the team. I think we established he's got 5 cousins on the team. So does he have a brother?
If you're Kaufusi, you're related to 1,000 others.
Yeah, like we know he's related to 5 people very closely on the team, and he stays very, very aware of what's going on. So he's going to talk about linebackers with us and what he's feeling about year 2 in Jay Hill's defense.
And we're excited to have him as part of our BYUtv
Yeah, he's going to join us every week.
That's going to be good. The top college basketball prospect in America announces the date of his official visit to BYU, and we'll talk a little bit more about the opportunity the Cougars have to land the biggest fish in the land in the coming months. And the night that he's going to be here, The Rock will be on a special mission.
Oh, yeah.
To try and
you got to show him what it's all about, what home field and home court advantage will look like if he comes here.
Wise Guys thrilled to have Brady Plus as our title sponsor. Brady Plus provides cleaning, food service, and packaging equipment, dispensers, and service and repairs with over 150 distribution facilities across the country and employing over 6,000 people. And with nearly 1 million impressions a month, Wise Guys with Brady Plus's help is going to grow and grow and grow. And as I say that, Tucson's in the house.
There we go. It keeps growing. Can we ever break? We were on 5 continents the last 2 weeks.
We've been on 5 of the 7.
So we're never going to get in Antarctica, are we?
I don't know. Maybe
is Antarctica a continent?
Maybe some a service member or something that's got us on the armed forces.
Yeah,
something.
But let's shoot for 6.
Let's shoot for 6. We've already got North America tonight.
If we can match 5, we'd be thrilled.
Yeah,
but
all right.
We need Europe to get in the house. We need South America to get in the house.
Germany, come on. You've been on before. Hop on again.
Let's go. Corey and the gang over in Japan. Let's go.
So I saw
no reason not for Corey to be excited. Hideki Matsuyama wins the big tournament in the FedEx Cup. He moves on.
That was big.
Yeah, so Corey should be happy. He should be on tonight.
So before we came on the air, I saw that BYU's a 16.5-point favorite against Southern Illinois. Does that feel too high, too low?
No, it actually feels about right. And people are going 16.5. Shouldn't they beat him by 4 touchdowns? Remember, this is a nationally ranked FCS opponent. This isn't a team that is not accomplished and doesn't know how to win. And so they're going to have some skilled players. BYU, my opinion, will wear them down and pull away at the end. So I think 16.5 is fair. If I'm setting the line, I would set it like 20.
20?
I think 20.
I think it opened at 18.5 and then went down to 16.5. Yeah. There's a lot of folks, let's be honest, as you look at the outside expectations for BYU football, there's a lot of folks that don't expect the quarterback spot to work. They don't expect BYU to win more than 4 games.
Right.
And
a lot of doubters.
A lot of doubters. And so now the Cougars are in an interesting spot as we sit on this Monday. There's 2 weeks to go before the opener. So Wednesday, they turn the page and totally focus on the Salukis. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what happens this week?
So they're still, this is still an extension of camp. And Wednesday is really the last day of camp. They'll do a little bit this week as part of camp, a couple of things to simulate some of Southern Illinois things. And this is the beginning of this week. You can do some SMU things. So you can mix in a few things as part of fall camp for your first 3 games, really. Then Thursday, so once you get Wednesday behind you, Thursday becomes, in essence, game week for BYU. It's an extended game week. Thursday becomes, now the singular focus is on Southern Illinois. What do they do? You run prep teams where they run everything Southern Illinois does. You get scouting reports out. You start doing individual scouts, all of that, and you solidify those. By Thursday, they need to have the rosters and the depth charts for BYU solidified. This is who we're going with in this first game, so let's prepare you as a 1, let's prepare you as a 2. This is what the rotations are going to look like. So everything makes a major shift Thursday to general, jobs still on the line. Like I said, you could even, like today, you could do a little SMU stuff. You could do a little Wyoming stuff today. But on Thursday, it becomes the end of fall camp, and it's game week, and that's how it rolls.
Blake's in with us from Charleston, West Virginia. Kyle is in from Omaha. Good to have you guys on the Wise Guys. Please hop on the live stream and let us know where you're taking us in from.
Sluggo Gal says that she watches the Wise Guys, but usually not live, but in live tonight. So thanks for being there, Sluggo Gal.
Yeah, and by the way, the show is always on YouTube.
That's right.
Always on wiseguys.com.
We'd love to have everybody come live with us, but we know that everybody can't. So
I'm listening to you closely, and what I thought I heard was on Thursday, BYU will have their starting quarterback. Because on Thursday, you are in complete, if not between now and then, on Thursday at least, you are in Saluki game prep mode. You have to have your starter.
If you don't have your starter by Thursday, something's messed up. Yes. Yeah. Thursday is the start of game week. Yes, you have your starter by Thursday. So we'll have a starter this week. I wouldn't be surprised if they announce it, Tuesday or Wednesday. We
were on Sports Nation this morning. The 2 of us were hosting for the first time in a long time, and we had a good time. We talked about a fact or fiction the fact that was Gary Bohannon will be the starter on August 31st. And in our opinions, we both went yes, that Gary Bohannon will be that starter. We'll ask Austin Collie. We'll ask Isaiah Kaufusi. There's a lot of people who think that because Jake was in the system last year, he should be the starter.
And we pointed out on the show that was just our opinion.
Yeah. We give our
why.
opinion on this show all the time.
We said why. Like, are we going to be flabbergasted if Jake in today and tomorrow throws lights out and they just go, okay, we've changed our mind? The fact that it's been this close and it's kind of been up and down and there's very little separation, I think Aaron Roderick would have loved to have somebody come out and be completely flawless and never turn the ball over and run the offense with efficiency. That last week he could have said, hey, it's really, really obvious it's Gary, or it's really obvious that it's Jake. But it hasn't been. And so my rationale on our show this morning was, if they're dead even still, then maybe you go with a guy that is 225, 230 pounds and can run around like a crazy man and create plays with his legs and move the chains on 3rd and 4 by running the ball and all of that stuff, because that's just an extra dimension, right, if there's no separation. But that doesn't say Jake can't come out today, tomorrow, and Wednesday and completely ball out and they don't go, that's the guy we've been waiting to show up all fall camp. He was flawless. He was clearly better, and that's what we're going to go with. Yeah, that could happen. So you and I said Gary. Yeah. Because there's been no separation. And if there continues to be no separation, then maybe you just go with the athlete, right? And that's not to say that Jake's not a good athlete.
No.
Gary's just a crazy, freakish athlete.
All right. Worthington, Minnesota is here. Is that the first time? Worthington,
that might be
Minnesota.
A new state for us.
Aaron's there. Mark from
Bountiful, Utah. Mark Axel, yeah.
Stephen from Olympia, Washington. So
nice to have Olympia in.
Come on, guys, let's go. We're hopping here on Wise Guys on a Monday night. Isaiah Kaufusi is going to join us in just a bit. Austin Collie will be with us in only moments, and we'll get his take on where things sit as we are now in week 0. Right? There's games this week. We'll talk about that in just a bit. What's been interesting is injuries. Knock on your wood table over there. I
hope people could hear that.
Yeah, I could hear it. That's not been a thing. It has not been a thing with a starter. It's not been a thing with people in camp. Right. That's good.
It's very good.
Last year, when you consider how many people went down in camp, it was crazy.
And there's a couple of guys that had to have minor surgery and some things done during the summer or during the off season. Hey, Philippines isn't. When another continent or like the South Pacific
have a bell. We should ding a bell.
We ding a bell. So Philippines, hey, Glenn, thanks for being here as usual. We appreciate you always joining us. And I think didn't Glenn tell us they're like 10 in the morning when we're on, so which is really cool. So back to what we were talking about. A couple of guys that were coming back from significant injuries where the timeline was not certain, where they were saying, maybe it might be not game 1. It might be game 2 or even game 3, because they have to do all of this testing and the normal protocol would be this long. But we know that a couple of guys, including LJ Martin, got cleared on Saturday.
And he's been the real question mark.
So Glenn says it's 8 a.m. there.
Okay.
So they're a little I think it's 10 a.m. in Japan.
Enjoy breakfast.
So thanks for joining us at 8 a.m., Glenn. So there was some talk that LJ, to get completely healthy, that he may not play till, is it week 2? Is it week 3? Could be week 4. And he's going, no, I'm playing in week 1. Now, the coaches may go, we know you're 100% healthy and you're cleared and you've been taking some contact. We just want to rest you for one more game. If I'm them, though, I want to put him out there against Southern Illinois, because SMU is a formidable opponent. And I want him to have some reps under his belt of running with live defenders coming at him to see how he goes before I get on the road and go down and play SMU. So I would play him.
It's interesting because you really want to find that out with all the running backs. Hinckley Rapati hasn't played since the New Mexico Bowl?
Right, and he was phenomenal the last time he played. But
and then Miles Davis is back healthy.
And Demooney was held out for a lot, Raider Demooney, and so we haven't seen a lot of him. He just got cleared. So some of these guys that we were hopeful would be cleared, the pieces are falling in place for them to be ready to go in game 1, which is really cool.
By the way, our player profiles will continue tomorrow on After Further Review, 5 o'clock Mountain Time on the BYUtv app, which is free. You can watch it on your phone, your laptop, your TV. we're going to continue our player profiles, and including Keanu Hill's transition from receiver to tight end. We'll ask Austin Collie what he thinks about that as well. But with David Nixon and you and me together tomorrow night, we'll take a look at what Keanu does best and how that might transition over to a great tight end, a productive tight end.
Right. And we'll ask Austin Collie about how that helps BYU's offense by moving him down and the mismatches he might create. So, hey, don't forget about BYUSN Game Day. Our 2-hour season premiere is August 31st, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. So it's 2 hours before the game. Kick is at 6 p.m. Mountain. That's on BYUtv and ESPN+. We'll get you ready to go. 2 hours of content talking about the matchup, about this year's teams. Southern Illinois at 6 p.m. on ESPN+. Game Day at 4. Don't miss it on BYUtv.
You know what
ESPN+.
I love about that show, especially on opening night, and we'll have the Cougar Walk and all that stuff, and the pomp and circumstance. But I just love the excitement of it's finally here. It'll probably be warm because it'll be 4 in the afternoon. I mean, it's a 6 o'clock local start, 8 Eastern time.
They better have those fans going.
You better have the fans going. But there's just something about it's back. And even though it's August 31st, it doesn't matter. The football's back, and the time of year that we love is great. And the team takes the field, the fireworks go off. But there is so much anticipation of, hey, fans watched the team lose 5 straight games to end last season. It's been a long time since they tasted a victory. The place is going to be full. Audience is going to be from all over the world wanting to see what's been fixed.
What's this version look like? Yeah. And are they going to be better than everybody's predicting? And hey, have you seen McMurphy's picks, Brett McMurphy? Yeah,
so he came out with his bowl picks. Now, Brett McMurphy writes for The Athletic, and he's on, with us on BYU Sports Nation all the time. Friend of the program.
Right.
And so, we like his opinion. He's a smart guy.
He's usually a respecter of BYU.
So he comes out with his bowl predictions today. And he doesn't have BYU in the field.
Right.
There's a million bowls, and he doesn't have BYU bowl eligible. But I thought it was interesting. As I was flipping through it, I'm like, okay, they play them, they play them, play them. And I go, wait a second, I'm going to count.
Including Southern Illinois, by the way.
Including Southern Illinois, who's an FCS, who's going to go to the playoffs.
They'll be in the postseason. Yeah, they're ranked.
But as far as the Division I, 11 Division I opponents, he's got 10 of BYU's 11 D1 opponents going to the postseason, including Wyoming and SMU and everybody but Arizona State. And as I was sitting there going, is the schedule that tough? And he's got everybody that is going to go to the postseason that's playing BYU.
Well, think about it. BYU has 5 preseason ranked teams on the schedule. So, but the thing that people are not taking into account, and we talked about it on Sports Nation today, is 4 of those teams are at BYU's place. 4 teams that are ranked, and they're not ranked in the top 10. They're all in the second 15. Come to Provo. You don't think BYU can get a couple of those? I think they're going to get at least.
They will.
I think they're going to get at least 2 wins against those 4 ranked opponents that come in, and maybe 3, but at least 2.
Yeah.
And if you go out and get a good start here, start 3-0, you get a couple there. Certainly, there's some other games late in the season. You like the finish to the season.
Well, I like.
You think they'll go on a 3-game win streak to end the season?
They could, because they've got Kansas at home, Arizona State on the road, and Houston at home. I mean, there's a chance to open with 3 and close with 3.
Right. And Arizona State's picked at the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
Houston's got to come to Provo. They're not going
to win that game.
They're in a reload kind of a thing going. And Kansas is one of those 5 ranked teams coming in the preseason.
Yeah.
But late in the season, at elevation, could be bad weather, which is good for BYU, and the Rock will be rocking.
And who knows? Who knows? By the way, Gary from Guyana is with us on the Wise Guys on a senior mission. Nice. So
Gary's
ring the bell. We got another
Gary's the one that
continent.
got us to the 5th continent.
Yeah.
With being in Guyana.
And then we had Perth, Australia come in. Right. And that took us to the next level.
That really took us over.
Kuwait was here. We hope to expand our reach. Hey, BYU fans are everywhere.
I need somebody to chime in from India.
India?
Yeah, I just feel like.
Okay. All right.
I'm feeling like if we could just get India in the house, I'd feel complete.
Our world domination. It hasn't really in India, China. We still have.
I don't know that we
some opportunities there.
I think India would be big.
Yeah,
because it would be a start of like 1 billion people. So,
all right. Our first guest tonight is a BYU Hall of Fame receiver and a BYUtv football analyst who will be with us on our game day lineup this fall, before and after the games. Austin Collie on the Wise Guys. We recorded with him just a few minutes ago because he's got football practice tonight, and he asked us from his car if we could get that done. So here's a few minutes with one of the greatest receivers ever to suit up at BYU, and we went at him with all our questions. Here's Austin Collie. Austin, what we love is that you are in your car, and so now Cougar Nation from around the world is also in your car with you. So thanks for you got football practice tonight. We're glad to have a couple minutes with you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing? I had to keep everything kind of from the chest up because the cars are a mess right now. I haven't cleaned it in a while.
You have kids, so everybody that has ever had kids knows that your car's just going to be a mess. That's just part of the deal.
Listen, it's I try to tell them, every single day when they're in this thing to clean it out and grab their stuff. Never happens, not once.
Yeah, that seems to be right.
That's exactly how it goes.
Hey, we just finished the second weekend of the NFL preseason. What's it like for a player going through that, fighting to keep a job?
It's stressful, for sure, right? Like I always tell people, that the probably the most stressful time was preseason and practice. The game was nothing, right, compared to the pressure that you were dealing with during practice, during the preseason, fall camp, or not fall camp, but training camp. It was you're always having to perform. You're always being judged, always being critiqued and evaluated. And when you got to the game, everything just seemed a little bit easier because everyone else was concerned about just the outcome of the game rather than just all eyes on you, right? So, it's stressful for sure, especially if you find yourself kind of on that fence. Every day you're just kind of waiting, making sure no one from the front office is kind of lingering around, staying out of their way, right? Making sure you don't make eye contact with anybody from the front office, and just kind of keeping your head down.
That's good advice. Never make eye contact with anyone from the front office.
Stay on the move. I mean, to be honest, there's one kid after they cut down to the 53. Great. I forget his name, but great safety out of Cal, was on the team the year prior. We come in that Monday after the 53 cuts. I think it's a Labor Day, right after that Labor Day weekend, thinking everybody's good. He's at the breakfast table with us. One of the front office guys comes up, taps him on the shoulder. Next thing I know, he's got a massive, one of those hefty black sacks with his locker cleaned out, heading to his car, right? And that was after, we were already supposed to be whittled down to the 53, right? So, the pressure's always on, man. You're always having to perform at all times.
There's 23 Cougars that are on right now in the mix. There's a multiple that we know are not at risk at all, right? Like names like Kyle Van Noy, Taysom Hill, Jamal Williams, Michael Davis, Fred Warner, Blake Freeland, Brady Christensen, Kairos Tonga, Puka Nacua. They're all under contract. They're all established. They're really not at risk, those guys. But other than those guys, in your mind, who has the best chance of these 23 guys, minus the ones that are certain, to make a team this year?
It's a great question. I would say my guy on the Browns, right?
Aiden Robbins.
Aiden Robbins, right? Like, I think his size translates really well. I don't think he got a really good shake or a really good look at BYU. Just given and BYU always seems to have these running backs, man, that are drafted or taken as a free agent that end up. First person to come to mind is Tyler Algier, right? Like, what an impact, what a difference he's made on the Falcons. And so to me, I think his size, I was always blown away at his size and his ability to catch the football. And I just don't think we got a good look just because he was dealing with injuries, dealing with nagging things going on. And I really like his chances.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Tyler Algier. He's another kind of lock. Yeah. When you have 1,000 yards as a rookie and you're productive your next season, he's a lock there as well, right? And so
if you have the ability to extend a run play by 3 yards from the point of contact, and a large part of that is due to just how strong your lower half is what your how much you weigh, your ability to get that forward lean when running the football, right? Like being able to break tackles. Like, I mean, that size, I don't care who you are. Not a lot of guys are just loving putting themselves in front of a guy that's running full speed at that size, right? So I think running backs in the league are a little bit different than college, right? You're looking for guys that you're looking for a type of running back that fits Aiden's kind of profile for those third and short distances, goal line distances, right? Those guys that are able to take a 2-yard run and turn it into a 4, right? Because every yard in the NFL matters.
What do you think will happen with Zach Wilson in Denver and Jaren Hall in Minnesota?
I'm hoping it works out for the both of them, right? Like, especially Zach. I know he's been kind of through the ringer from the looks of it, right? I mean, he's got some competition ahead of him, and I mean, everything I'm hearing out of the Denver camp, he's playing really well. He looks like he's kind of back to the old Zach. I don't like the minimum amount of reps he got just yesterday, right? I don't know how great of a sign that is, but the I hope that he gets his chance, because obviously I'm a big Zach Wilson fan. I know what he's capable of. I know he could be a unique talent in the NFL if he's just given, put in the right situation, coming in with the right mindset. I think Jaren Hall as well. Like, I think Jaren, from the clips that I saw from the Vikings game, did a pretty dang good job of just kind of controlling the offense, controlling the the drive or drives, I should say. And he looked a lot more comfortable. That's the one thing that you'll notice, especially at the quarterback position. The comfort level that he's going to have from year 1 to year 2 being under the same system, man, is just going to be he'll be night and day better than what he was last year. So, I mean, if he was slotted as the number 2 or 3 guy last year, I'm sure nothing's going to change.
Sounds good. It's interesting with Zach, because when you look at the financials, the Broncos acquired him in a trade, and the Jets have to pay almost all of his salary. He seems like he's the cheapest backup in the league, if nothing else, right? So sometimes finances, they come into play. You're part of that. It's a big business, and sometimes the financials are on your side, and sometimes they're not. It seems like they would be on Zach's side, right?
Yeah, and you want to know what? The limited snaps that he had yesterday could be, a result of that, right? Like, let's get him limited snaps. We know that he's solidified on the roster just because of how much we got to pay him, the investment we've made, and how much that of the cap space he takes up. So that very, very well could be. You're exactly right.
It feels right that the Jets are still paying him.
Yeah,
I don't mind that the Jets have to keep.
That's their penance.
Listen, in my mind, they ought to pay him more. Right?
Yeah,
like what they did to that kid.
Yeah.
The fact that he's still in the mindset of wanting to play, still having a love for the game, man. I mean, the stuff that Zach had to go through and the situation that he was thrown in, I mean, just time and time again, I don't know a lot of guys that come back from that. And it just shows the resilience that he does have, right? And all those naysayers that said from the very beginning, like, how is he going to handle trials? How is he going to, demand a locker room? How is he going to earn the respect of the guys? Just because of how, maybe innocent he comes off, or the vibe that he kind of puts out. I think he's earned the respect of every single player across the league, because everyone knows how difficult the position is. And then to be able to have to perform in the situation that he was thrown into, like, you can't help but just have a tremendous amount of respect for a guy like that.
Former Patriots and Colts receiver and BYUtv football analyst Austin Collie on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus. Let's switch over to the college game, which you cover so well with us, our colleague, and on all the shows that we do. If the game's tomorrow, who's your quarterback for BYU? You going with Gary Bohannon? You going with Jake Retzlaff? And why?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been out to see a bunch of camp practices, right? I haven't been down to fall camp much. But I just think, just off of sheer, I'm a big believer in being in the system and what that does for a quarterback. And Jake's been in the system. We've seen him out on the field. He's been able to kind of, like I said with Zach, he's been able to kind of get a different feel for what their expectation is of him. He's not thrown into the fire just right away. He knows what the expectations are coming into the season. He's been in the system. He's getting much more attention probably from Aaron and from the other offensive coaches. I know he's been working hard this whole offseason, right? I've been part of that. So, I would have to go with Jake, but that's me that's me saying that, and I haven't really seen Gary, right? Yeah. But I just know how hard it is, man, to come into a system not having thrown or developed any sort of timing or relationship with the receivers, and then on top of that, having to learn a new system that's just so hard. Like, you can only expect a quarterback to do so much, which is why, like, I'm not a huge fan of picking up somebody in the transfer portal. Like, I'm especially at the quarterback position, right? Like, that's years and years in the making of developing that relationship with their wide receivers. You want to eventually have your quarterback be able to play only thinking about, what's currently going on in front of them, and not having to second guess what a play is or where someone's going to be, which receiver to go to, what the read is, etc. So, like I said, I think Jake, I'd probably give the nod to Jake just based off of how I seen Jake throw the ball and now what his comfort is with everybody.
You had the pleasure of catching passes from Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. These two guys aren't those two guys. But what one leadership skill did you see in Tom and Peyton that you would want to see in Gary and Jake? Give us one.
Yeah, holding everybody to a sense of accountability, right? I think that's one of the biggest things that was missing. I mean, I played with I was very blessed to play with the quarterbacks that I had, right? Like, one guy that you didn't name that comes to mind is Max, right? I know a lot of people talk about Max and just the fire he has, right? I think a lot of these kids in this generation are very concerned with their peers, what their peers think of them, not hurting anybody's feelings. Like, off the field, that's all fantastic, right? Great guys. I mean, I'll tell you right now, the BYU guys hanging around them, man, just what great young men, right? Like, phenomenal young men that you would, literally, let babysit your kids for a week. I mean, these guys are just great dudes, man. I would say that all needs to be left at the door, however, when you when you get to the stadium, right? Like, Max, fiery. You asked David Nixon, you asked Brian Keel, when it was practice time or when we were lacing those things up, how much he liked me or Max or Dennis or Harvey. They didn't like us, and we didn't like them, right? And part of the reason is because, we had a little bit of swagger to us. We had a little bit of fire to us. Everything mattered. We wanted to win. No matter who we were going against, we wanted to win. And if we weren't meeting the standards that we had set, we would make sure everybody knew, right? And we'd hold everybody accountable. And we didn't care if people didn't like us. We didn't care, and this was on the field. Obviously, off the field, everything was kosher. Would hang out all together. But that's kind of the attitude that you have to have as a quarterback, right? Like, you have to be able to hold people accountable and not really care more about the team than how people perceive you and, how good of terms you're on, right? Because there are going to be some naysayers on the team. There's going to be guys that don't want to fall in line. There's going to be guys that are going to be, behind their backs, going to be like, well, who does this kid think he is? He just showed up here last year, right? I've been here all 4 years, or I've been a captain on the team for 3 years. Well, that doesn't cut it, right? Like, you have to hold everybody accountable. It's your team. You have to own the team, and hold everybody to that standard. And that's exactly what, like, Tom and Peyton would do, right? Obviously, their pedigree kind of speaks for itself and makes it a little bit easier, but it's part of the reason why I don't like the transfer portal either, right? Like, it's hard to get a quarterback to come in and feel like he actually owns the team. It's his squad. It's his huddle. But, that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
You have to hold your team members accountable, and you have to get fiery on the sidelines, man. You got it. You may have to get in a couple guys' face and tell them to freaking, raise their level a little bit more. And that's what it takes.
You and I talked during the season a bunch last year as we were analyzing games about play calling and, what could Aaron do to help these quarterbacks out. So regardless of who that is, there's this balance between you got to get the quarterback feeling like he has a rhythm to start a game, and they've put this huge emphasis on the run game all spring long. In the early part of fall, they really focused on being able to run the football. So now you're Aaron Roderick. You're coming to this Southern Illinois game. What do you do in the first series or two? Do you go out and say, we're going to show you all the work we did, we're going to run the ball down your throat to start the game? Or do you go, you know what, I got to get these quarterbacks ready to go for down the road. We're going to come out firing and get these guys a rhythm. Like, what do you do in that first game?
I would say balance is key, right? Like, let's figure out what we're really good at. Everybody looks good during the off season, right? Like, no one's hardly ever going full go anymore. You don't really get a good idea of how guys are going to actually perform the game. some perform great in practice. Some are practice heroes. You know, they get out there, they look like they're the real deal, and then you get them out in their game situation with high pressure situations, going up against a defense that maybe they don't or haven't gotten used to over the course of the 4 weeks or the entire offseason that they've been going up against the defense. And so, you know, I would say, you know, start off balanced approach. Let's find out exactly what what we're made of, what we're good at, identify some weaknesses, especially, you know, playing a team like them where we're supposed to be, you know, I'm going to venture to say we're supposed to take them on, you know, and give it to them pretty handedly. So what a great opportunity to really kind of diagnose what things you need to now really harp on and continue to work on as the season goes on to help prepare you for the Big 12. So, yeah, just a balanced run, offensive game plan.
I'm kind of disappointed. I thought you were going to say back up and chuck it deep.
Well, if this
let's just unleash.
If this was Max coming back and Austin and Dennis and Harvey, Austin would say that because they're already established. He's like, no, just forget about it. Let's just throw it every down. That's what they would do.
I mean, the wide receiver in me says yes, but the OC of my 12U football team says let's come out balanced and let's figure out where we're needing work.
Yeah, listen to him. BYUtv football analyst Austin Collie on the Wise Guys. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. During his 37 games at BYU, racked up 3,255 receiving yards and 30 touchdowns in just 3 seasons. Couple more questions for you, Austin, because we know you have practice here in just a couple minutes. Keanu Hill moves from receiver to tight end. In what ways could he be fantastic at that position? How big of a risk is it to move a receiver to that position?
Well, I think what they're expecting at Keanu is not that big of a risk, right? It's just a bigger body inside the number 3 position or number 2 position, depending on what the set is. And now he's working, you know, hopefully against the backer. And if not, they bring in that nickel corner. Now our run game opens up a little bit more, right? Because they don't have that much, you know, they're down a man in the box. So I definitely think teams have to strategize a little bit better, just because now you're putting that you get a tight end in there that maybe not. He's a little bit more stiff. He's a little bit more heavy up top. Can't run routes real well. Then you feel good about your matchup with your linebacker, right? But you get somebody in there that's got that wide receiver skill set like Keanu does. It kind of causes fits for the defensive game plan, right? Like. And it only helps out the run, I believe. I mean, I don't see Keanu having any problems with linebackers in this league. You know, I think his ability to catch the ball on, you know, uncontested throws, his ability to get open as a receiver, you know, over the course of the last few years is only going to benefit him, and is going to just, you know, it's going to be a nightmare for linebackers. So I only see them having to go kind of like that nickel set. Which we should be able to take advantage of from the run game perspective.
You know, you've worked with a bunch of these wide receivers on BYU's squad, working out with them in the offseason. You know this group really well. We keep hearing, hey, this is one of the deepest groups, very talented, very deep group, wide receiver, maybe one of the strengths of the team. Early in camp, when I was down, I saw a lot of drop balls, which I know would drive you. When you mentioned you're working with Norm Chow would have been out of his mind in the first couple of days of practice because, you know how he used to say, the difficult catches are a routine, the impossible ones just take a little more practice. He would have been flat out of his mind. But in the last week or so, that's changed. Guys are making plays and starting to catch everything. So it seems like they're getting a rhythm with these 2 quarterbacks. Is there one of those guys that you expect to really step up, because you know these guys, and be the alpha dog of that group and to be the star wide receiver?
I think Chase, right? Like Chase is there's something different in Chase this year than there was last year. I do believe I can just see it. I can see it in the way he's approaching everything. I can see it in just his demeanor. He's a little bit different mentally than he was last year going into the season. I still feel like last year he may have, you know, still had the kind of that maybe underclassman mentality. Maybe afraid to speak up, maybe afraid to say something, even though he was, you know, one of the team leaders and I believe one of the team captains, right? Like he still kind of had that reservation about him, and I don't see that this year. Right, I see very confident in his skill set, what he's able to do. He's improved a ton at the top of his routes. Not to toot my own horn, but you know, some we worked on, you know, for the last few months. But I think he's going to have a major impact this year, and he's going to I think he's going to light the league on fire, to be honest with you.
Let's finish up with this one because we'll see you on our game day set a week from Saturday, 4 o'clock Mountain Time, ahead of the Southern Illinois game. And we're looking forward to another season hanging out with you and the guys, including Isaiah Kaufusi, who'll join us in a few minutes. What do you expect to see in that opener on the 31st? Once they kick it off, what do you expect after these last 9 months of trying to get ready for it?
I hope a lot of, some improvement from last year, Dave. Like, I hope we see, just a little. I think the defense is going to be a lot more comfortable with where they're at, given that it's going to be year 2 under Jay Hill. And obviously with confidence and with comfort comes a little bit more swagger, a little bit more excitement, guys flying around, trying to make, everyone trying to make the play for themselves. And then offensively, I'm hoping to see, like I said, I'm hoping to see us excel in the run. I think the run game is going to be a lot better. I think there's been massive improvements up front in terms of just guys knowing what their job is, what their blocking assignments are up front. I think that got that dialed down. I think that's going to be massive, both on the run game and to the pass game. I definitely think we're going to see a team with a little bit more swagger, right? Like guys have been around a little bit longer. The transfers that we had last year were in key positions. This is going to be their second year. I'm hoping we're going to see some improvement, Dave. That's all I can give you.
That sounds good. Improvement to me sounds like 45 points.
Swagger and confidence translates to playing faster.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking. Yeah. You got that swagger. You're just playing faster. And if BYU plays faster, you go back and rewind last season. Couple of games get away early because the guys are hesitant or doing the wrong thing. That's the difference between winning 5 games and winning 7 or 8 games is that confidence and swagger. And so that's what Austin's talking about. He wants to see that.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit more of a spark. I think there's definitely going to be a little bit more of a spark. However you want to phrase that, there's going to be definitely more of a spark, more confidence, more. They know what the expectation is. Last year, coming into a new league, you hadn't played against these teams before. You didn't know what the level of competition was going to look like. This year they do, right? And that gives you a little bit more of a sense of surety that you can hang, right? Like we can compete, we can make plays in this, in this league, and that only will show itself through speed, just like you said, and a little bit more of a spark. That's the only word that keeps coming to my mind.
All right, well, go spark the little guys out there practice.
Ready to go.
Go easy on them. It's like 89 degrees outside.
Is this Ute conference, Austin? Is this the Ute conference?
This is Ute conference, and we got it done on the ground this last game. We probably had about 300 plus yards on the ground.
So you guys, are you like Landon took his Lehigh team up into that league, so they just moved into the league this year. They played on a field that had half of a baseball infield on it, and it rained like crazy, and it was like a bunch of red mud everywhere. It was terrible.
Yeah, a little Oakland, old Oakland Raider field. Yeah, absolutely.
So they're playing at home this week. They hope it's a better environment. But maybe you guys will face them later in the year. Same age group, I think.
I think we do.
Cool.
Are they Bantam? Are they the oldest group?
They're 12, so that's the same as yours, isn't it? Yep, isn't it?
It's my second oldest.
Yep, there you go. Play against the second.
Hey, we'll see you soon. Thanks for the time.
Have fun, Austin.
All right, gents.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Austin Collie, just a few minutes before he came on the air tonight, ahead of his practice with his little ones, his football season for everybody. And we do want to clarify a couple of things. First of all, old Zuby, when we're talking about getting to 5 continents tonight.
Right.
He said, I definitely think Vernal, Utah should qualify as another continent. And I'm sure Brandon Fugel will confirm that. Brandon's been on this show.
He would say that Brandon's place out there in the basin is its own place. It's like in another world. That's in another world. What's that place called again?
It's
what's the place with the
Skinwalker Ranch?
Skinwalker Ranch. Steve, thanks for that one. Skinwalker Ranch. He'd say that's part of another world. And then down in SoCal, what was the handle again?
Sluggo.
Yeah, Sluggo Gal says, wait a minute, doesn't SoCal count as a continent? Unfortunately, even though California seems like it's in a different world sometimes, it is not another continent.
Michael's in from Beaumont, Texas, and Kevin's in from South Jordan tonight.
Yeah, South Jordan, that is another continent. So
it's a privilege to introduce our next guest as the newest member of BYUtv's GameDay crew. Finished his Cougar career in 2020 with 204 tackles. Thrilled to welcome Isaiah Kaufusi to Wise Guys and to BYU TV Sports. Good to have you with us.
Thanks. It's exciting to be here. I've seen this studio many times, so that's nice to be here.
You picked the right night because it's the first night we can say this Saturday.
That's right.
Florida State plays Georgia Tech in Ireland. SMU, a BYU opponent at Nevada, and Bronco Mendenhall debuts at New Mexico against Montana State. And as week 0, football season's here.
It's here.
It's the best time of the year.
It really is, isn't it? Is it weird for you, though, to not be playing? Like, how does that feel? Like, we've talked about leading into you coming on with us that you're going to be a big part of what we do this fall with all of our game day stuff and part of our BYU TV crew. We're going to start having you on this show with us. Is it weird to be in this phase of your life and not be having pads? You went to practice, but you weren't out there hitting anybody.
Yeah, I got asked that question a couple of times. Like, do you miss it? What's going on? And the first year or two after, I think I was just ready to be done. My body had taken a beating.
Yeah.
School and just the stressors of football, school, family, all that. I was relieved to kind of be done. But now I'm like, I get to practice. I'm like, man, I just wish I could suit up. I wish I could just hit somebody or go on a blitz or drop back in coverage. So
it's a fountain of youth for you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's nice for me because I've got my little brother Micah, cousin Ace, Orion, just family there, so I can kind of live through them, and trying to just give them tidbits of advice on, hey, cherish the time here, right? Because there's no better time in your life than playing football at BYU.
Now, you literally just walked in the door from practice tonight. What'd you see that you liked?
A lot of things, right? Obviously, I'm looking at the defense because I'm a defensive player. I love just to see the linebackers. I'm watching their technique because this defense is, if the linebackers can play really well, it really is set up for the linebackers, right, to make a lot of plays. So right. I'm just kind of, trying to evaluate what are the linebackers doing. Are they hitting their gaps hard? Are they making plays? So I did see a lot of that. I was focusing on the linebackers. The DBs looked really good, like the safeties. Pretty deep. I think they've got a good crew there. And then, just the effort, right? That's when it comes down to the Big 12 football.
Yeah.
It's turnovers and who's playing the hardest.
By the way, Timothy checking in late from Australia. So good to see you, Kaufusi.
There we go. We were waiting for another continent to get in.
How about they're talking about Kaufusis in Australia?
In Australia.
Hey, shout out to Australia.
There we go. You mentioned this defense, Isaiah, Jay Hill's defense. If you go back, it's a defense designed and really by Kyle Whittingham back in the day, Fred Whittingham's kind of defense. Yeah. Up at the University of Utah, which Jay then took to Weber State, and then it brings back down here. But the front, they're block eaters and gap holders, and they take up a lot of blocks, and they're really aggressive and come off, and they're expected to do a lot of damage there. But they're supposed to free the linebackers up so they can make all the plays.
Yep.
How fun is it to play in a defense where they just tell you, no, be aggressive, go make tackles, we're clearing the way for you. That's your job.
Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world, right? This defense is just set up to. Every guy has their assignment, and when everyone plays together, when everyone executes their assignment, everyone has a chance to make a play, right? Like it's very much big play dependent. And that's what I love about it, right? Is you give guys the ability to beat one-on-one blocks, to create turnovers, force fumbles, interceptions, and that's really how you win games.
You were at practice last year, and now you just come to practice today, and you've been to practice a few times during camp. What's the difference? What do you feel is the difference, especially on the defensive side?
Just the foundation of experience, right? As they have a year under their belt, they're getting comfortable within the defense. Because as a player, you start to almost get used to now Jay, how he calls games and how what his kind of defensive philosophy is when it comes to calling plays. And so you start to pick up on that. You get more comfortable. Hey, here's kind of my confidence interval of when I can overextend myself or versus when I shouldn't maybe take that risk.
And Jay Hill made a comment in his post game after the scrimmage Saturday, and he said they're in the phase of this now where he's watching for guys that aren't thinking. And he said last year we had a lot of guys out there thinking, what's my assignment? What am I supposed to do? He doesn't want them to do that anymore.
Yep.
He wants them to feel comfortable enough that what do I do on this play is just second nature. And now it's, how do I go make a play?
Yeah.
Are you seeing that as you're watching, especially this linebacker group? Are they comfortable enough to not have to think so that they can just go make a play and play fast?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that, right? And it still takes time, right? You get a lot of young guys, and when guys are asked to step up, right, Ben Bywater goes down.
Yeah.
Huge hit to the defense. But now the guys that are coming in, like, you have to be able to trust what you've been taught from the coaches and say, okay, this is alignment assignment technique right off the bat, right? The call comes in, and now you're thinking, okay, what am I going to get here from the offense? And how can I make a play? Right? What are the weaknesses of the defense? What do I need to protect my guys? But how do I make a play? So I am seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, that's good.
Stephanie says, hello from Idaho Falls. We love our Cougs. Isaiah Kaufusi's with us. We got a bunch of questions for you. And if you have a question for Isaiah, feel free to give it to us on the live stream. In and out of football, so let's jump out of football for a moment. How eager are you to dive into the TV side of things?
I'm excited. Yeah, it'll be a different view for me, right? Obviously a different paradigm watching the game and being able to analyze the game, which I feel like I have always loved. So I'm excited to jump in. You know, my wife always makes fun because after the segments, right, I have my makeup wipe and I'm wiping off my makeup. And
don't tell our secrets. Don't tell people we actually don't look this good.
They're usually applying it to us over and over again.
Right.
For all of those shows which are really heavily lighted and all that, yeah, we have a little makeup,
yeah,
right?
just a little bit.
Yeah.
This one though, you guys just get us as we are. Just so they know, you just get us as we are.
Shine is
this is a no frills, like we just show up.
All natural.
This is you see the bad side of us too here. So
what kind of insights do you hope to be able to bring from your experience, both during our 2-hour pregame show and then the postgame show where we're analyzing, as what we just saw from the defensive side? And you're very articulate young man. What do you hope to be able to share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, kind of selfishly, right? I just want to be around the game again and be able to analyze and be close to football. And so I think that's, great for me. But then being able to just kind of share those insights, I always look to those, kind of analysts that I look up to, right? Who are sharing these insights of the game. And you're like, man, I'm learning football. And I think it's just the game in its simplest form, right? Just being able to analyze the game, share that with others, inspire others, not only to love BYU football, but to just love football in general.
As we prepare for a broadcast, there's a lot of similarities to preparing to get ready for a game on a Saturday as we're going to do the countdown to kick off our game day show and post game to what you're doing, not the physical part of it, but we're doing our scouting report. We're studying the opponent. We're studying our own strengths. We're doing all that. How do you feel your football career has prepared you to now make the step and come join us on the broadcasting side of things?
I mean, it's foundational, right? Obviously, never was the biggest, strongest, fastest linebacker, but I prided myself in, my ability to, watch film, kind of decompress kind of what is happening with the opponent, and then be able to say, okay, here's, with their tendencies and, have the statistical background. So I'm very nerdy when it comes to the stats, right? The sheet that comes out after the game. But I do think that football really just prepared me, right, to kind of jump into this kind of next phase.
Awesome. Greg is on the live stream from Southern California tonight. Greg, good to have you on the Wise Guys. Former BYU linebacker and new BYUtv football analyst Isaiah Kaufusi is on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus. This is gut check time for a lot of former Cougars trying to get a job in the NFL. You signed with the Colts as an undrafted free agent in 2021. Give us some insights into how hard is it to win a job on an NFL roster?
Extremely tough. I mean, talk about one of the hardest times of my life, right? Not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, right? Trying to make that 53-man roster was extremely trying. And, learned a lot, was grateful for my wife, right, to kind of hold it down. She was my rock at that time. But, you've got 96 guys that are there that are trying to make the team, and they, dwindle it down to 53. And, kudos to really all the guys out there trying, because it is not easy. But it's really rewarding.
What is it like to get the call to find out you're not on the team? Tell us your experience.
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, I haven't really shared this with a lot of people, but for me, it was somewhat relieving.
Really?
I mean, it had been, the day. I got cut on the last day of the cuts.
Right down to the 53.
Right down to the 53. I'd already kind of packed my bag, right? Like I just was kind of just mentally preparing for this call and hoping that I did my best. And as I reflect, I definitely did. I mean, I gave it everything I had. I'm happy with my effort. And, I was somewhat relieved when I got the call because it was just like, okay, like now I know what's happening. Now I know what's going on with my life. I'll go home, I'll train, I'll try again. Like there's going to be another team that calls because I had a great preseason.
And isn't there just so much anxiety of am I in or am I out?
Do you start like counting the numbers? You're like, okay, this guy's getting more reps. That guy, I know they're only keep 3 of these, so I'm most likely going to get cut when they go down.
Yeah, well, Indy had all their guys already. They really had one spot for 3 kind of linebackers.
Yeah.
And so I already knew the odds. A couple of them, one was a 3rd round draft pick. The other was like a 2nd round draft pick.
So you've got money invested in
right. And so I kind of know where I sit, but I've had good production in the preseason.
Yeah.
I started taking some long snap reps, like just kind of show my value. And, I kind of already knew. And
so who calls? The phone rings. What happens?
Yeah, actually, it was just some manager of the team. I don't even know, who was. They just came by my locker and said, "Hey, GM wants to see you." So, all right, you kind of know, and bring your iPad. That's the playbook, and you meet with your coach, your position coach. Actually, no, I went and met with Chris Ballard.
Yeah.
First, and then you meet with the head coach and the position coach, and they kind of do
give you a little feedback.
Exit, a little exit interview, feedback, and I was just waiting in my locker just all day, all morning, because I knew that this was the time, and I had actually had really great feedback from all 3 of them. I mean, it was kind of a numbers game, but that's how it goes.
And,
right?
and in your mind, what you wanted to be able to go, I did everything I could. I gave it my effort. I performed at my best, and it just wasn't the right timing at this one.
Yeah.
That's what you wanted to be able to say, it sounds like.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I sleep really good at night, right? Yeah. Like, if there was any ounce of me that, of regret because I didn't give it my all or because I didn't, watch enough film, like, that would have been a tough pill to swallow, but
I don't know if people appreciate how hard it is to get on a 53-man.
Oh,
I remember covering the Super Bowl for KSL. We were at the Eagles and Patriots, and they came out to warm up. The first guys came out, and I kept waiting for the rest of the team to come out because BYU rolls out 100.
Yeah,
and they never came out. And
yeah,
that's when it dawned on me, like, this is the 53 best football players in the world going against 53 more, and that's it. And then it was impressive to realize there is no inflated rosters. It is all just 53. There's not 54.
Yep.
And that every year college kids pour into the NFL expecting to take one of those jobs.
And they're all great
most
players.
Of the pros stay.
All the 90 guys that you were competing with are all the best guys. The best guys from their team, right?
Yeah, no, it's the talent is all, they're all the best of the best.
Yeah. Tim Strickland on the chat says, I'm actually interested, if it's not too personal, what kind of feedback do the coaches give? So when you met with the head coach and the position coach, what do they talk to you about?
Yeah, the position coach really gave, I think, a lot of detailed feedback, right? The head coach was a little bit more removed, but it was, from the position coach, it was really like, hey, this, kind of a numbers game. We loved what you did in coverage. Run game could have gotten a little bit better, right? Because the Colts defense, very much like how the defense is now at BYU, is very attack oriented.
Like a downhill,
right? When I was
backers
playing,
or gap fillers.
We had Kyrus and Bracken and Zach Daw, right? They're just eating up blocks, and we're kind of just playing behind them, making them right? Mm-hmm. Playing what was called a fit technique.
Right.
Where now the Colts, it's like, hey, this is your B gap. The ball's coming, you got to go. So I was a little bit hesitant, right? I just hadn't really trained that muscle. So that was one of the big feedbacks. And then obviously the biggest one, right, is special teams. That's how you make, a team in the NFL is you got to just perform and produce on special teams. And they just didn't feel like I was really as good as the other guys.
Interesting. Yeah. And here's what's crazy. Like we said, all 90 of the guys on that roster, these are like, if you may have played some of them in college, it's like, wait, that was the best guy on that team. Wait, that was the best guy on that time. So it's all the best guys. and you need to be in the right place at the right time with the right, with the right situation to make a roster.
Yeah.
Unless you're a crazy superstar, which are so few and far between, right?
Yeah, totally.
So
we asked Austin this question. We're going to ask you, of all these Cougars, there's 23 of them currently on NFL rosters, or at least trying to find a spot there. Who do you think would surprise you, or maybe wouldn't surprise you, that makes a roster? Now, we know there's the core that are coming back.
Hey, Tyler Allgeier's on the team. Jamal Williams is on the team. Taysom Hill's on the team.
But there's a lot of guys
Zach
who are on the
Wilson's
bubble.
not getting cut.
Right.
They're paying him $8 million. He's not getting cut, right? So those are obvious to us, right?
Yeah.
So who would you go, who's probably going to make it and maybe people don't think is? Is there anybody like that in your mind?
That's a good question.
Now, Ryan Rico, we think, has got a foot in the
Yeah.
door,
Like,
more or less.
Do they even have
with
another
the
punter?
Bengals.
He punted all 6 punts yesterday. It's like,
Yeah,
he's just a guy?
He's definitely an NFL punter.
Yeah.
But in my mind, he's already kind of slotted in.
Yeah, so he's in.
Yeah.
Is there somebody that's like,
I think it was a clip of Chris Brooks.
Yeah, he had a big day.
He kind of had a big day, which was cool, right? Like, you want to see those guys that are.
And he found a spot on the team last year. I mean, he's fighting to stay.
And nobody expected him to be a guy.
Yeah,
right?
so I saw that clip. I saw a picture of Aiden and
Yeah.
Jared.
Austin mentioned Aiden maybe makes a team.
Could be a good fit there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's like those guys are probably in the same position you were. I don't know. Am I am I doing enough? And sometimes it's about making a play or a couple of plays.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this before. You know Vi Sikahema, right?
Yeah.
So Vi is a good friend, played with Vi. We were back when they were in Philadelphia, and he has a room full of footballs. And my one son said, "What's your favorite one, Uncle Vi? What's your favorite ball?" And he walked over to the end, he took one, and he said, "This is my favorite ball." And he had Pro Bowl balls, and like some
Player
big, like
game,
big time.
Yeah.
And Landon took it and said, "Well, why is this? This is from a preseason game." And he goes, "Because they gave me this game ball because at the end of the game I returned a punt like 80 yards for a touchdown. And they gave me the game ball for the special teams player of the game. And the special teams coach said, 'Here's the ball and congratulations.' Before the game, the coaching staff had decided if you didn't do something spectacular, we were going to cut you after today." He says, "So this is the ball that kept me in the league."
Wow.
That's why it's the most important to me, because I don't get any of these other balls, and I don't play in the Pro Bowl or play 9 seasons if I don't get this ball. There's one play in a preseason game kept him in the league.
That's all the difference, right? It just takes that one play, that one opportunity to just then catapult your career.
Yeah.
Let's get
It's
your
amazing.
take on our Cougar Board question of the week with Isaiah Kaufusi and the Wise Guys. If you're not familiar with Cougar Board, it's the largest online community of BYU fans, thousands of posts daily. There's a question from Coug Fan, one of their insider subscribers, and we've already talked about part of it on if you foresee any of the undrafted free agents from BYU making a roster this year. So let's go to the second part.
Because he said Aiden and possibly Brooks, right?
Yeah,
How secure do you think Zach Wilson and Jaron Hall are on their rosters?
I would say pretty secure now, right? Jaron's, I think, in a good spot with JJ.
With McCarthy getting hurt,
getting hurt, and he's made some plays, right? That touchdown pass was big. It seems like mentally, right, he's really starting to come into being an NFL quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zach, I think, is the same, right? I think he's got.
You think they're going to keep 3?
I mean, it'd be tough. I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we think.
Yeah. We started to look at the financials. We talked to Austin about this a little bit, but with Zach, the Broncos hardly have to pay for him because the Jets are still picking up a big part of that salary.
Yep.
And so he's one of the cheapest backup quarterbacks in the league. And he's actually played. He's been a starter. So I just don't see him getting rid of Zach. I think Zach's secure there. Now, whether or not he gets a chance to play and actually show, that's still yet to be determined.
I think either way, it's a good situation for him. You know, just time.
Yeah. And he's got a coach now that develops quarterbacks, which he didn't have at the Jets. I think Jaron's getting a chance to show what he can do.
Yeah.
Hey, what's it like for a football player to knowing that Andy Reid's head of the Chiefs? Don't you just kind of expect Andy Reid to draft all the BYU guys? And yet, he's running his business over there. And every now and then we see him. Matt Bushman had a run there, and a couple others. We got Kingsley on the offensive line there. But does every player coming out who is an undrafted free agent, meaning, hey, if you call me, I can come, don't you kind of expect Brother Reid to give you a buzz?
Yep. And also, too, I think the Colts, right? I was kind of the first one in 2021, and I think ever since then they've always kind of taken a BYU player.
Yeah, they got Freeland and Slovis right now back there.
Yeah.
And Keaton might be the biggest surprise for everybody.
Maybe he could sneak on.
And he has a chance to sneak on that roster. Yep. Maybe even as a practice squad guy at first, but I think Keaton, he looks like an NFL guy. He's got the arm strength, passes the eye test. He's thrown some good ball. Like, Keaton could make it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, I was in Sam Ellinger's draft class. And he's been there for a few years now. So it'll be interesting to kind of see, right? Do they go with Keaton and kind of take some new blood or stick it with Sam?
Interesting.
And you got to have a practice squad quarterback, right?
Yep.
So maybe there's a window there that can keep him in the mix.
Got a chance. Yeah. Hey, former BYU linebacker Isaiah Kaufusi on the Wise Guys with us tonight. Let's talk about BYU a little bit. We'll transition from the NFL to BYU. Harrison Taggart, Jack Kelly, Isaiah Glasker, Ace Kaufusi, your cousin, Brian Strother, Elijah's little brother, right? I mean, Sialia Sarah, Micah Kaufusi. Who do you like, and what do you like about this group? Are there some individuals you're like, oh, I really like this guy and I like this? Tell us about that group of backers and what you like about them.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I was down at practice, right? And I saw the clip of Isaiah Glasker's one-handed catch. Yeah. I mean, that's just dirty, right? Like
he's a scary athlete. Yeah, he's like so long and athletic.
And his, I mean, I can kind of compare him to Fred, right? He reminds me of this like Fred Warner-esque.
And he's a little taller than Fred.
A little taller than Fred.
So what about Van Noy? Is there some Van Noy in him, or is it more Fred?
I think it's more Fred to me, right?
Fred's more. People don't realize that, and this is no disrespect to Kyle. Kyle's a pass rusher.
Yeah. Yep.
Kyle's a defensive end. He's not a linebacker really in the NFL. He's played the position of linebacker in defenses where they put him on the edge and he rushes the passer, and he's one of the best ever at it, right? And he's made a living at it. Fred is a crazy athlete in space. They're two completely different players.
Yeah, I wouldn't put him in the same category. Yeah. But Isaiah, to me, is very much, he could be like a Fred, right? Rangy. I mean, he just can run, right? Backside. Like, these are the traits that I love to see, because it's like, you know, if there's a fumble on the other side of the field, like, I would think that Isaiah Glasker could be someone that could pick it up, right? Pursuing, he's got a lot of range, just instinctual. So I really like what I see at him. I've heard great things about Jack. I mean, I think is going to be kind of the anchor of that defense. And then Isaiah, Harrison Taggart.
He's your middle linebacker, right?
Yeah, and he's just, I mean, he's got that experience. He played a lot last year. Like, I think those guys coming back, you know, those core guys can really, I think, help that defense kind of pick it up.
And you were known as a guy that could really run, you know, cover a lot of ground. All three of those guys can really run. So we got three guys that are the starting three probably that can all really run to the football.
Well, and everyone else, you know, kind of below on the depth chart, right? Like, that's what I love to see about these kind of tall, longer, lengthier linebackers is they can run. They all have put on a lot of weight. I mean, I look at Micah now and I'm like, dude, if I was your weight when I played here, I would. I mean,
how much weight does Micah put on? Because he's really filled out.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was, during the summer, he got up to like 233 to 235.
Right. And he played, like, when he came to BYU, what was he?
He was maybe 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a different body now, right?
Yeah. And so, you know, I just love, you know, what Coach Enna has done, right, with those linebackers. And really Jay, right? Like, I think both of them just kind of creating that culture of, hey, the linebackers. Because you look at Utah, some of their former linebackers, right? And I played against Cody Barton and Chase Hansen. Like, those two guys were making plays everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, to me, like, the defense it's catered to the linebacker position.
Getting pressure on the quarterback, stopping the run, getting off the field on third downs. Priorities for the linebackers, those were trouble spots for the defense as a whole last year. So a week from Saturday, what do you expect to see?
And I expect Lavelle to just be packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then really I would love to just see kind of a continuation of the last two games of last season, right? Come out fast, you play physical football, you create turnovers, you prevent turnovers, right? You protect the ball, and then you just finish strong. Like, to me, that's the sauce. That's the secret sauce to success.
Yeah, it's the defenses that Jay's been involved in always, like, stop the run. They make teams one-dimensional. They make you throw the ball. Like, you're not going to run it.
Yeah.
And that would be fun to see, a really great run-stopping defense. And with the backers that you talked about, it seems like that might be something that they have. We've gone through it saying, man, go back last year And it's like at times it felt like BYU just wanted to give the ball to the other team. Like just not just turnovers, but terminal turnovers. Like, hey, here, have the ball and go score a touchdown on it.
And it's like at midfield.
Right.
It's on our own.
Yeah.
Field, right?
It's a pick six. It's like pick up a fumble, run it back for a touchdown. Why don't we just spot you 14? They have got to fix that, right? And if they fix that, all this talk about 4.5 games, is that crazy talk? Are they better than that?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm always optimistic. I mean, I'm one of the biggest optimists here, right? But also I'm a realist, and I do think that this team has, it's kind of flying under the radar a little bit. I think overlooked in a lot of aspects, and I think we've got the guys, and we've got the system, right? That's one of the most important things is the system is in place. Now the guys got to go execute.
When you're down on the field, and we're going to hit you with 5 questions here in just a sec. When you're down on the field in a game, can you feel the crowd's momentum or whatever, but can you also feel their anxiety of another third down or we can't get up there? Do you feel that, or do you feel mostly the positive vibes of when they're going nuts?
Yeah, I think for me it was just the positive vibes, right? And that's, I think, a culmination of a lot of things, but really just composure, right? To not just kind of tune things out and say, hey, this is like, it's the next play, all right? Whatever happened previously, it's done, right? It's happened. Now what's going to happen next, right? How can I control what I can? And so I never really could sense the anxiety, but I love the momentum, right? Being able to just cheer and kind of pump up the crowd, right? That's what I really kind of focused on or felt.
Did the COVID year rob you of some of that?
Yeah,
some of those moments.
Yeah, it was really cool to look up in the stands and just see all the cardboard faces of everyone. And
Wasn't that just
everyone's there in heart? But
it was like Bizarro world.
The worst. Like it was Bizarro for us broadcasting. It was crazy. Basketball was even more crazy in my opinion.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, Dave and I sat at a long table and they put a big piece of glass in between us, and we called games and. We acted like we were together, but he was like over on the other side of the room, and we were calling a game together in an empty arena in basketball. It was so weird.
It was extremely weird.
Gary writes, I prefer to go into the season being overlooked and then making some noise with unexpected wins, which, would be most of BYU's wins, the unexpected.
Yeah, Larry Lynn says,
first one.
And we're going to knock on wood like really hard on, he says, hello from Orem. Why is it in BYU's DNA to get great athletes, but we can never keep them healthy? And so far, this is why I'm knocking on wood, this is a really healthy fall camp. Like,
yeah.
They've been, and we would agree that some key players, I think you pay attention to it. Lots of programs have injuries because it's a very physical sport. BYU's probably had more of its fair share with marquee guys. But, yeah, if you really pay close attention, everybody's favorite team, they always go, why do we always have guys get – because guys get injured in the sport, right?
Yeah, I think the Vikings are feeling like
they're feeling like
torpedoed
exactly
from that stuff. 5 questions is presented by Strategy Square, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies. Blaine's going to hit you with 5. This is where people will really judge you.
They're going to say, okay, let's see who this guy is. And you're supposed to, like, first thing that pops in your head, that's what you're supposed to do.
We record this stuff, too.
So your favorite sports movie?
Remember the Titans.
See, easy. Like, he just didn't even hesitate.
No hesitation.
What's your favorite song from that movie? No, that's not one of the questions, but
okay. I mean, the whole
it's got the whole soundtrack.
Yeah, the whole soundtrack.
It's all good.
Incredible.
So, your favorite singer or band?
The Temptations.
Really?
Wow.
I'm an oldie. I was born in the wrong era. I should have been.
Have we had the Temptations yet?
No, we haven't.
I should have been born in the 50s or 60s. The old Motown.
Don't the Temptations have some songs in?
How does your wife feel about that? She's okay with old school music?
Yeah. She loves. I mean, she rolls her eyes, but it's not her country.
Is she country or she?
Yeah, she got me into country, so I'm a big country fan too.
Oh, okay. Do you have a favorite country artist?
Zach Brown Band.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right. But Temptations, I kind of love that.
The Temptations. That's my
classic.
go-to karaoke. Like anything Temptation. That's what I'm singing.
One night,
let's remember that for the Christmas party.
One night we're gonna have karaoke night here. Maybe the Christmas show will do karaoke.
That'll be
night.
good.
Okay, your favorite breakfast cereal?
Honey Bunches of Oats.
Okay, we've had that one before, and we appreciate anybody that eats sugar cereal. So
we're no respecter of sugar-coated cereal.
Yeah, we love
them all.
Captain Crunch for him.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm Cinnamon Life.
Yeah, that's not bad too.
So I feel like it's healthy and sugary. So okay, your favorite moment from the 2020 COVID season that we just talked about?
Man, that's a good question. Honestly, this is going to be a shock. I think Coastal Carolina.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
People always ask me this. That single game defined who we were as a team, right? Get a call on Wednesday. Hey, you guys are playing Coastal. Practice Thursday. Fly out Thursday. Play Saturday. I mean, 2.5 days of prep. Like, when I think back to that
and a
season,
trip to the East Coast.
Not to mention, they run a strange offense and they're
weird
really good.
offense. Midline option, all that crap.
and it's one of the biggest what ifs in
sure.
to me in program, right? The program history is like, well, what if we would have beat Coastal Carolina, and like, where would we have ended up?
Mm-hmm.
But to me, when I reflect, it's like that game was just who we were, right? We left it out there. We took a chance on ourselves. We were backs against the wall, and we came up a yard short. But like that moment for me will always stick.
Your street cred just skyrocketed, even though BYU lost that game. And you know what? The forces were in play. We weren't going to a big game. Those were going to they were going to be something to keep us out.
Keep BYU
This was
out.
a last ditch effort because you still had to come home and play San Diego State in the Ice Bowl.
Yeah.
But the street cred of the fact that you did it. No one does that.
Right.
And you did it and you went across the country. And so Zach throws a pass to Dax, gets tackled to the 1 yard line. That's how the game ends.
Yep.
Did you think he was going to score?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I my angle, right? It was hard to see because I was kind of middle of the field, but it looked like he was close.
My biggest question on that
Would have
game
been
is,
sweet.
do you wish you could go back and that when their guys roughed up Zach, that you guys all went out on the field and beat the crap out of him? Because I do.
Yeah. I mean, I was the first one out. I was actually on the field before the play was done.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was kind of.
You were the only one.
Yeah, I mean, and my little brother actually came out too. And,
Okay.
it is what it is. I mean, I would have never jeopardized my playing time, right?
Right,
so
right,
if I would have retaliated and got kicked out, then the team is like that's not what my intention would have been. But at least run out there and just make sure, hey, this is our guy.
I wanted more guys to be out there and just get in between them, not necessarily to beat the crap out, but
just
I wanted everybody that was on the field, so it wasn't a penalty, to run back there and get in between them and go, no, do not touch our dude.
Yeah, and it was hard because I think a lot of guys didn't see it.
So they didn't know until after.
Yeah, they were running to the interception.
Yeah.
Right, so they were trying to make sure that they didn't take it back to the house.
And that guy was just back there just
And
him and his buddies.
So people ask me, I'm like, that's what I say. I say, I don't think anybody knew what was going on because I clearly believe that if everybody that was on the field saw that, we would have like 11 guys around them.
Yeah,
right?
Especially the offensive line, right?
Yeah.
Like they would have been probably the first
And I saw that on social media the other day. It's still floating around of Zach just getting pounded.
That was just so
I remember that. I remember the 1 yard line. And it didn't seem like we could get them off the field, and yet they scored 21 points, I think it was. Wasn't it like that?
I mean, just reflecting back.
Yeah.
I mean, what we had saw on the tape was they're an RPO team.
right.
But what we really didn't see is those teams first stopped the triple option, and then they kind of played more, RPO. So, I mean, it was like we could have prepped better. Like there was all these things, right? Looking back,
If you had a whole week to prep, because it is unique the way they block it and the way they run it.
Yeah.
Pulling that center every time. It's a very, basically nobody in the country runs quite that offense.
Yeah, very unique.
And so it's like preparing for Air Force or Navy on one day.
Yeah,
which is really hard.
And Grayson McCall, I think, was the quarterback.
Yeah.
Phenomenal athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, he was incredible.
And
right?
tough.
Very tough. I mean, he had busted up his ankle a couple times in the game, slow to get up, but he was
Tough
right
guy.
back up, running downhill. Their running back, I think CJ Marable, he's been kind of a league guy back and forth, but
Yeah, they had a good team.
really good team.
Yeah.
I mean, they were ranked, 12 or 13 or something like that?
I'm convinced with a full week of prep and having them on the schedule, BYU's better than them, but that was a tough situation.
In that week, speaking of fun feelings, the game isn't set yet. There's the chance that could happen because another team had COVID issues and they had to officially back out, and they hadn't backed out. I think it was Liberty. The team's practicing. It's like 9 o'clock at night. The team's at practice. And I remember someone called me going, hey, we don't have a game this weekend. Why is the team practicing at 9:00? And all of a sudden the drums started beating up. There's something happening. And then the equipment truck leaves at like 10 p.m. It's like, and someone shot some videos like, where could this thing be going?
And they started tracking the equipment.
I mean, it was something we hadn't experienced before.
See, well, it was nice too because at the time Kalani was our position coach basically. I mean, Clune was there, but Kalani had sat in the previous year, so we were kind of getting all the inside baseball from Kalani. Right? So Tuesday comes around and we're practice, and he's like, "Hey, I got to step out. Like I'm getting blown up from Tom."
Yeah,
and so he's kind of like, "Oh, I don't know if we're going to be playing this weekend, but if we do, it might be Coastal." Right? Like there was we were getting all these kind of inside baseball, and finally they let us go Tuesday night, and then Wednesday they said, "All right, like here's the schedule. We're playing Saturday, Coastal Carolina, 2 time zones away. We've got to practice Wednesday, practice Thursday. We're leaving.
Yeah,
right. Get there Friday, do a little like a light walkthrough, but
yeah."
It was honestly one of the best experiences.
Very
right?
cool.
Like so fun
and so unique, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that was one of the beauties of the independence era to me, right? Kind of that ability to just say, "Oh, all right, Wednesday, let's go. You guys want to play Saturday? All right."
The whole COVID year was a tribute to being independent.
Yep.
Right.
Because everyone else is shut down, and you're like, we're good. We'll play 10 games. And ESPN's like, you'll play every primetime Saturday night.
Yeah.
Thank you for playing.
Yep.
What a year that was.
Such a fun year. It was really magical. And hey, who knows? Nobody had expectations that team was going to have that kind of year. Nobody has expectations that this year's team can have a magical season. You just never know, do you? So we had the most important question we didn't ask him though of our 5 questions.
Number 5.
Because on number 4 we went off on a tangent, which is great. What's a favorite advice your wife's ever given you?
Oh, there's too much, and I feel like she's always just giving me. I need to listen to her more. Right? It's just. I mean, every
her
time
advice
she
is you should listen to me more.
It took me a lot of years to finally realize that. Man, my wife is always right.
They're right.
It's getting old.
I know. I'm in the same boat, and I just, I think I know it all, and then all of a sudden my wife will just be like, "Look, I told you so." Right? I mean, it's when are you going to learn? And she's my rock. I mean, she is one of the. She's the greatest mother to our 2 kids. We've got a baby
number
girl
3 coming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'll listen to her more.
Awesome. Let's do a bonus question. Who was the greatest of the Kaufusis to play at BYU? Now for our audience to understand, there's Kaufusis that were at the U. Most of the Kaufusis have been at BYU for what feels like forever.
Yeah.
Did you have some Kaufusi teammates?
I played with Stephen Rich.
Yeah, for sure. And so that goes back a couple years, even though you're still terribly young.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah.
You're welcome. The greatest of the Kaufusis, and if there was a Kaufusi reunion and that debate came up, how would it go?
Oh, man. I mean, I think...
and you can answer this in 2 ways, because you can actually say who the best player ever was of a Kaufusi, and then you could also answer it with who thinks they're the best player.
Yeah, that's what I'm answering was the second one. So I think the first... I heard a lot of great things about my Uncle Jason.
Yeah.
He was great player. Great player.
Was kind of robbed with a shoulder injury, but I've heard that his potential was incredible.
Yeah.
And everyone, I think everyone would probably defend Jay.
Yeah.
As the best.
Yeah.
And then Bronson, he's humble, but he's up there too.
Yeah,
right?
he's a pretty special athlete, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he was on the show not long ago.
Yeah, nobody that long, that big, that athletic. You're not supposed to be all of those things, right?
Yeah.
What a family legacy. Whether they're cousins, brothers, whatever, the Kaufusi name is a BYU name.
Yep.
And it took Kaufusis to do that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know if we have time for this, but just an interesting tidbit. We recently celebrated my grandma's birthday, so all the siblings were there. All my dad's uncles, or all my dad's brothers, all my uncles, and all my cousins. And we're kind of going through saying, okay, Steve, he had Bronson, Corbin, Devin, Alexis played, Daryl played soccer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, okay. Rich, son played football out at Stanford. Henry, or my dad, Doug, and we're just listening like everyone. I mean, my cousin Carson is going up to the U. I think there's like 3 cousins that haven't had the opportunity to go play college in some sport or capacity.
That's it? Just three?
And the three of them, two of them are like, 8 or 9 years old, right? So,
maybe it may still happen.
There's still a shot, and it's just, the legacy from, my grandparents coming down, and it's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's two things. There's great DNA, so you guys have athletic genes, and that makes a big difference.
Yep.
But also the legacy of you were raised in a culture where you expect to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, this is what we do, so you can. And you never doubt yourself, and you can, so you just prepare like you're going to, and I think that has a lot to do with it. When you're raised in an environment where you expect that you can do it.
Well, and it's amazing, too, because I have, my dad and all his brothers as mentors, right?
Yeah.
They've all been through it, and they all have kind of their unique perspective. My Uncle Jason's a coach right now, right? And it's like up at Washington, and it's just amazing to be able, he'll text me and say, hey, watch the game, like, here's a couple pointers, a couple tips, right? And that, I think that culture that we have is very unique, but also is what helps us succeed.
And it's around everybody just sometimes differently. I had a nephew set apart as a missionary yesterday, getting ready to go to Argentina. And as we were sitting there, you started to think about all the return missionaries he's been surrounded by on all sides of the families. And so it's like, it makes perfect sense to him. This is what he grew up in. And the same thing in all of our families and in yours too, with athletics and missions and all that stuff. You don't have to be 16 and go, I don't know what my path is, because you've just seen everyone in your life go this way.
Yep. Yeah, it's the same. I mean, we just, and it's funny because no one ever really forced any of us to play football, right? It's like my dad's not saying, hey, we all played football. We all got scholarships. We all, had a chance to go play in the NFL. It was like, hey, do you want to play? You can play. If not, that's all right.
Right.
It wasn't ever forced down on us. It just kind of organically is what.
And you watched, but you had a love for it, and then they fostered that love for it. So, hey, we do have another question directly, and this is Les Namanga, who's a great friend of the show, also a world-famous artist, by the way.
In Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yeah, in Santa Fe, like world-renowned potter and painter, like amazing. We love that he is on the show all the time. We got to bring him on the show sometime. Like
Les would be good.
It's pretty cool. But he asked, which game would you rather count as a win? The Coastal Carolina or Utah third place?
Yeah, this one is like salt in the wound for me because I think Utah would be my
that would be your choice.
Yeah.
Your choice.
I mean, obviously, right, that's where, the injury to my right ankle, Corbin going down, Matt Hadley breaking his foot. Like,
oh, yeah.
To me, that was, I think that's the one I would.
It's 27-7.
I know.
Yeah. We all felt that. We had to do the post-game show, which you'll be a part of now. So we have post-game shows after phenomenal things, and we have the same post-game show after sometimes where things go the other way.
I'm with you. I think I'd always take Utah.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice up there, at Rice Eccles to come away with the win there.
I know. Hey, it's great to have you here. We look forward to hanging out with you for a long time on BYUtv. And you'll find that no one tackles us. Game days are long. We eat pretty good.
We stay way healthier.
Fans love it. And we're excited to tap into your mind and how you see the game and have you explain it to folks.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And to those tuning in as well, what a cool experience. And to be able to talk BYU football, it's just what a dream.
Yeah, we're talking it all over the world, and it's really fun. So we're looking forward. Welcome to BYUtv. Welcome to, well, you've always been welcome around us since you were playing. So
by the way, since we've got you still here, to your credit, and you may remember this or not, but when BYU would lose, no one likes to come out to the postgame show.
Right.
But you would.
Yeah.
You would all the time. And it's not by mistake that you're joining our BYUtv crew. And at the time you didn't know it, at the time we didn't know it. But you always came out when times were bad and in times were good. But you learn a lot about someone who will come out and address when things didn't go right. And we've said many, many times that there's the Tyler Baddies, Isaiah Kaufusis, that we can name them. We can name the 5 on our hands of those guys who came out when it didn't work out, but you still came out to talk to your fans.
Yep.
And that's a credit to you. And also, it's helped you get to where you're at now, because in 2 weeks you'll be sitting with us doing the same thing.
Yep.
And I think that's a full circle thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would always, Brett would come out and he'd just be across the room and he'd be looking at me and I would know. But that's part of the game, right?
Right.
It's the respect to the game.
That's what, even when you're in college, like the college coaches say, be a pro. Like, be a pro at what you do. Be professional. Part of that is facing people when things aren't great.
And that's why NFL GMs and coaches love BYU players.
Really?
Because this program prepares you to be a pro.
Yeah.
So that's, obviously one of the things that just sets you up for life.
And media is a big part of it. We were talking with a couple of big-time recruits that have come through, and we give them tours at BYUtv when they ask, and they're like, well, what
one of them happens to be the number one recruit in the country in basketball.
Yeah, and he'll be on his official visit here in October. But it's like, well, what can this place do for you? And we say, hey, look, across the streets where you're going to shoot baskets and do all that stuff, lift weights, but over here, we can help prepare you for NBA media by putting you on camera.
Yeah. By
putting you on the post-game shows. We just expect an 18 or 19-year-old kid to make the winning shot or miss the game-winning shot, and all of a sudden 8 microphones are under his chin, and we just expect him to act like he's been there before. No one's been there before. Yep. They've been out on the court all the time, and all of a sudden when we start talking about that, that the parents always perk up like, that's right. Yep. That's the other half of it.
And that's why they fall in love with the place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, we're happy to have you.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
All right, Isaiah.
Thanks, Isaiah.
5 questions is presented by Strategy Square, and we welcome Isaiah Kaufusi to BYUtv, to the Wise Guys. We're gonna have a lot of fun with him.
Oh yeah, Isaiah's got great insight, and it'll be nice to have a backer, along with Dave Nixon. Like these guys that play linebacker, they have to know what every level of the defense is doing. They have to know what's going on behind them in the secondary and how the coverage and how they fit into the coverage. They have to know the run fits and what that D-line needs to do so that they know where they're supposed to go. So when you get linebackers, they're very knowledgeable about the entire defensive scheme, and we're going to tap into Isaiah's brain about that as we move forward and he joins us.
Yeah, and our crew will have David Nixon, Isaiah Kaufusi, Austin Collie, Brian Logan, you and me. Some of those guys will be interchangeable a little bit as they're dealing with their Little League football schedules.
They're all in a different phase of life than us because they're all coaching their Austin was saying he's got a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old, or 12 and 14. So
we've been doing it for like 34 years
They're in
together.
a busy time of life, so we'll
hold
through.
It down, and then Spencer Litton, of course, is part of our crew, and we look forward to Game Day, the season premiere, a week from Saturday.
Can you believe, our next show is game week on this show.
Yeah.
Next Wise
We're
Guys
talking
is
about
game
Saturday's
week.
game.
I love it.
That's cool. By the way, next week, Gary Scheide and Larry Carr are going to join us. BYU is going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of their bowl team, the first bowl team, 1974.
Yeah,
went to the Fiesta Bowl. So Gary they'll both be here in studio, and we'll talk about that momentous occasion. On September 2nd, Brandon Doman will be here. Taggart Barron, the president of BYU alumni in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Did you just meet Taggart?
Yeah, met him at Aspen Grove. I think that looks familiar. I went down and shook his hand. We hadn't met before, I don't think. And anyway, he said, I'm the head of the alumni for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I go, well, we're going to have you on our show. As soon as I said Wise Guys, he said, I'm in. So, awesome. And then Derwin Gray is going to join us on September 9th, and he'll break down the SMU game. Brandon will be here to break down the Southern Illinois game, and we'll just march into the season with some of the great minds in BYU football history. And I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
You know what else I love? I love that there's football all the time now, and there are football games all weekend with the NFL.
We were talking earlier today. We did Sports Nation this morning together, but we really had a very fortunate summer this summer. Because usually we get to this point in the year and we're just giddy because it's been a drought of things. But BYU's basketball, with all that went on during the summer, gave us a lot to talk about, and it bridged us. This summer didn't feel like it was quite so bad.
No, and now it's almost over.
And now we're on the downhill stretch. When we're talking about our next guests are on for game week on this show, it's exciting. That gets pretty exciting.
Speaking of basketball, hang with us in a couple of minutes. We'll dive into what's new with hoops. Cougars in the NFL as we finish up our football theme. The rosters will be cut to 53 on August 27th. You talked We heard Isaiah talk about the last cut. There used to be 3.
Yeah, now there's only one.
Now there's just one. You're on it one day and you're off it.
Everybody's on or off.
So it's crunch time. August 27th is next week. So there's one more game. There's games this weekend. And then they got their rosters kind of set for the final weekend of preseason.
And if you're on the fence, you got one game to make a big play that changes your trajectory.
So the Cougs had a lot of touchdowns this last week.
Yeah, let's talk about those. Jaron Hall, 2 touchdown passes.
I thought he played great
throws.
And he was the second guy in. Yeah. And he played for a while, which I thought was key.
With the J.J. McCarthy injury, and
I
with
feel
him
better
playing
about his
solid,
spot.
I think he's strongly there.
Zach Wilson threw a touchdown pass last night.
He didn't get as many reps.
No, and the game was kind of out of hand a little bit. He got sacked for a safety on a blitz where he had no chance. And that was the 2 points for the Packers.
Of the Jets. I think the Jets probably flashed through his eyes.
He thought he was back in New York. But his head coach today was on in the media saying, hey, he's playing great. The last 2 weeks, he's been awesome. Yeah. So we're just kind of curious to see what the Broncos are going to do.
I think that Sean Payton wants him to be good because he likes his skill set. Taysom Hill, there's no doubt Taysom Hill's on the squad. One of the best players in the NFL.
Playing fullback, scored a touchdown playing
run.
Fullback.
I love the play where he was the lead blocker in the I formation and just kicks that linebacker out, manhandled the backer, and then Jamal Williams goes up the gut for a big game.
I saw him lined up at tight end, and I thought maybe at the receiver spot and at fullback.
He can do it all.
Didn't see him take any snaps, but it might have been. We were flipping back and forth.
I don't think he took any snaps last night.
We'll see what his plans are. Chris Brooks, 5 carries for 60 yards for the Dolphins. This is a guy who made the Dolphins last year. And he's doing his best to say, I belong.
Yeah, and then Ryan Rico, we talked about this just a little bit ago with Isaiah. 6 punts, 46.2-yard average. He was the only punter that saw time against the Bears. I feel like he's solidified that spot already. He's a big-time NFL guy.
Yeah, that's awesome for him. All right, here are the big games. This is really the last hurrah for these guys to make a case to be on these rosters. Starting Thursday night, the Colts with Keaton Slovis and Blake Freeland play at the Bengals with Ryan Rico. So we have 3 Cougars out there.
Yeah, Keaton Slovis, we were saying, seems to be getting a lot of good chatter about him.
He was 8 of 11 the other day.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good. So how about Friday? The Jags are at the Falcons. Tyler Algier, he's on the squad.
I'm curious to see how the Falcons are going to use Robinson and Algier.
Yeah, Algier needs to get more carries.
Yeah,
there's a lot of teams that would love Algier.
Yeah, if he got, and you need 2 backs because they all get hurt.
Right.
And I think the Falcons are like, well, why would we trade?
Yeah, they're not going to trade
either one of these guys.
But I wish he could go be the feature guy someplace. Like he was their feature guy 2 years ago and rushed for 1,000 yards for Pete's sake.
Get him the ball because you never know if you should draft him or not.
Right.
Splitting carries. Chris Brooks and the Dolphins are at the Bucs.
Yeah, Brooks has been impressive again. And then the 49ers with Fred Warner at the Raiders with Dax Milne.
It's a bigger game for Dax.
Dax with the Raiders. Kind of established himself, with the Commanders. Fred Warner. Yeah, do you think Fred will make the team?
I think Fred's going to make the team.
Or being sarcastic, of course.
Then on Saturday, Brady Christensen and the Panthers are at the Bills.
Yeah, Brady's solidly with the Panthers. And then the Ravens with Kyle Van Noy, who's solidly at the Packers with Zane Anderson, who's trying to make a roster spot, right?
Is Zane, is he solid? Or is he just...
he's an experienced guy, and he's... You know how Isaiah talked about special teams? Zane Anderson's the guy that can star on special teams, and that's where he's got the ability to make a team.
Puka Nacua and the Rams play at the Texans with Max Tooley.
You think Puka will make it?
Like Puka's okay. I don't even think he's going to play in the preseason. But Max had 5 tackles here. Max is making a case.
Is running all over the place, making plays like we saw him do when he was healthy at BYU.
He might make that team.
He might make the team.
That would be so good.
So the Vikings and Jaron Hall, we just discussed Jaron, what's going on with him.
Feels like he's got to play good again.
Yeah, with J.J. McCarthy getting hurt, gives them a great opportunity. They play at the Eagles on Saturday.
Chris Wilcox and the Chargers are at the Cowboys. I don't know much about his
Chris is kind of an established guy. He's been in the league a couple years. So the Giants with Caleb Hayes at the Jets. That's also on Saturday.
Aiden Robbins and the Browns are at the Seahawks. By the way, that's my mistake because remember Caleb Hayes just got released by the Giants and the Broncos picked him up that same
so
day.
Make that correction.
And he had a tackle for Denver last night, so that's my bad.
And here's the fact that the Broncos picked him up the same day they got released is a good sign for Caleb.
Yeah.
So.
Now the Browns with Aiden Robbins at the Seahawks, I was a little bit surprised when Austin Collie thought
he thinks that Aiden has a chance.
Aiden has a chance, and they've got Chubb, who's been their big runner.
But he's been hurt.
And Robbins is kind of built like him.
Yeah. So there you go.
How about if Aiden Robbins had stayed at BYU for his last year? Would you feel differently about the ground game?
Yeah, much
because his ribs wouldn't be broken.
Right.
And that would be good. All right, Sunday.
Yeah, Titans at the Saints. Of course, with the Saints, whenever the Saints are there, you got the trifecta: Taysom Hill, Jamal Williams, and Samson Nacua.
Feels like Samson needs a good game, and they need to get him in the game and throw him the football because he's the one who's trying to make the roster.
He's a long shot, but he's made plays when they give him the opportunity.
Sunday on CBS, the Cardinals with Kyrus Tonga at the Broncos with Zach and Hayes. So here's Zach Wilson on CBS with a chance.
Put the ball in his hands and let him go make some plays. Let him throw the ball 15 times.
And if Bo Nix is going to be your starter, there's no reason to play him in another preseason game.
If you've already decided that, let Zach just go establish himself.
I'd start Zach. Stidham, he's decent.
Yeah.
He played ahead of Zach yesterday. I'd flip-flop it and say, you know what, go out with kind of the big ones aren't going to play, but go with the sub ones and see what you can do. And then on NBC Sunday night,
Patriots and Commanders, Michael Davis. Michael Davis has been a starter at corner in this league for a long time. Like, he's an established player. So he should be just fine.
Hey, let's do our Defense Drinks promo before we get to men's basketball.
Yeah, let's do that.
Defense Drinks makes a pre-workout that is caffeine-free. Get the energy and performance boost without disturbing your sleep, having those caffeine jitters, or a caffeine crash. Have you ever had caffeine jitters? I don't know if I've had those,
I don't know if
but I've had a caffeine crash.
I don't know if there's enough caffeine to give me jitters.
Being caffeine-free and using clean ingredients means it can be safely used by you and by NCAA athletes. Save 10% on your order at defensedrinks.com using the promo WISEGUYS.
I'm going to pass my drug test is what you're telling me.
Yeah, there's the promo code WISEGUYS.
And as always, by the way, I'm not drinking the pre. I'm drinking the collagen. This is an electrolyte. This is to get you hydrated with electrolytes and collagen. It's good for old guys like me, but also great for athletes.
Thanks for hanging with us here in the Wise Guys. Let's get some basketball news. AJ Dybantsa, the nation's top high school prospect, he's going to make his official visit to BYU on October 11th through the 13th, so that weekend. The BYU stop is going to be his last of 6 schools that are in the mix, including Kansas State, Kansas, North Carolina, Alabama, Baylor, and BYU. I read today that Alabama thinks they got a legit shot at him, and maybe everyone does. But it'll be the second time Dybantsa has been on campus. It'll be the 3rd visit for his parents.
Right.
That is interesting.
BYU has a little bit of an inside track because you think about it, this 6'8", 185-pound, like, he's a potential number 1 pick in the NBA draft in 2026, right?
Yeah.
He's going to play his senior year here in Utah, at Utah Prep in Herkin. So this is kind of like the home state school for him now.
And then you add the fact that BYU is in the mix because Kevin Young is fresh out of the NBA. His staff from the NBA and the G League and Europe. It's the Big 12, the toughest basketball conference in the country. And then the campus culture. These kids, and he's one of them, they want a place with the fewest distractions as possible. Yegor Demon, the same thing.
Yeah.
I want to get away from that, and I want to play basketball, and I want guys who can prepare me for the NBA. Even BYU strength coach is from the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
This is a group that meets all of that criteria. And you know what? There's going to be some NIL stuff as well. But we've already seen BYU as a player in that game.
They can get it done.
So that's going to be huge because he'll be down on the field when the football team takes the field against Kansas, and he'll be right in front of the rock and a chance to feel the energy that has won over a whole lot of guys.
Yeah.
And but this is different level. And then right behind him, and on that same trip, is J.J. Mandequit, a 4-star guard who also plays for Utah Prep. His official visit's going to be that weekend. I met him on a BYUtv tour last spring. 24/7 Sports ranks him the 51st overall player in the 2025 group coming out. You get those two, you have Final Four talent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it takes. A couple of guys, maybe 3,
it's so
maybe
much,
4.
It's so much easier to make a giant jump in basketball.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 or 3 NBA guys and some really solid role players that are solid college basketball players. You can get to a Final Four.
Absolutely.
Football, you kind of need like 50 guys.
You need a big offensive line. You need a big tailback. You need a superstar quarterback.
But you need depth. You need more than 22. You need like 35 to 40 legit guys, and it's just so much tougher to assemble that talent than it is basketball. You can turn basketball around quickly, and you know what we've seen from Kevin Young? He can recruit.
BYU's never been to a Final Four, but all of a sudden it feels like
they got positive.
They're getting talent that they've never been able to get.
You're telling me there's a chance.
I'm telling you, there's a chance.
Hey, how about our good friend Greg Kite, former BYU center? He's getting inducted into the Texas High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
That's awesome.
So the 6'10" Houston native, he was part of that 81 Elite 8 run with Danny Ainge, and that squad beat UCLA and Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. He also won 2 NBA championships with the Boston Celtics. Induction ceremony is next May in San Antonio. So shout out and congratulations to Greg Kite. Good friend. He was in school when I was in school.
One of the best human beings.
Oh, amazing. So think about that team. That was remember, in the Elite 8, they lost to Ralph Sampson and Virginia, who played in the championship game that year. Yeah. So it was really, that was a Final Four talent team. Danny Ainge, we all know, National Player of the Year, longtime NBA guy. Greg Kite, we just highlighted, longtime NBA guy. Fred Roberts, played more than a decade, NBA guy.
Steve Trumbo, who was a rebounding machine.
NBA talent, decided to go over and make even more money as the premier player in Spain. His wife was from Spain. They raised their kids there. He became a superstar in Spain, but clearly an NBA guy. He could have played a decade in the NBA.
Steve Craig. Greg Balloff.
It was a whole team of NBA talent level. I haven't seen that kind of a talent, that depth of talent assembled at BYU until now.
Yeah.
Until now.
Now it's their job to get them together, get this year's roster playing together, get some chemistry going. Right. Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And say, you know what? Sky hasn't always been the limit, but it is now. The Marriott Center, by the way, comes in number 10 among the biggest college basketball venues. The JMA Wireless Dome at Syracuse, that's still number 1 at 35,000.
When I was growing up, it was the Carrier Dome.
Yeah. Louisville's KFC Yum Center.
Really, it's the KFC Yum Center?
Yeah, it is. They're second at 22,090. The Marriott Center, after the recent renovations, remember the Marriott Center was 22,700.
Yeah. And when Danny was playing, that group we just talked about, Danny and Greg and those guys, it was 22,700 every single night.
So now it's officially 19,000, which is the biggest in the Big 12 and number 10 in college basketball.
Yeah. So, hey, you put the product out there that we think they can put out there, you'll be selling that thing out on a regular basis.
Absolutely. And you know what? They've sold out this season.
That's right.
So our first exhibition game is going to be the biggest game in the history of BYUtv.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like October 30th. It's like, what? We can finally see these guys?
Because we'll see them.
It's going to be good.
I was lucky. I got to go see them last week. And I got to tell you, everybody's in for a treat. These dudes can play.
It's going to be great. Women's soccer, they are 1-0, still number 3 in the country. The coaches poll, the new one will come out tomorrow afternoon. Right. They were number 3 when they beat 19th ranked Wisconsin 1-0 at Southfield. This week, Thursday, they're at St. Louis. They're number 12, and that one's at 6 o'clock Mountain Time on ESPN+. And then Saturday, they're at Long Beach State. That's an 8 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN+. So they're on the road. They're going to go play UCLA next week, too, before they come back August 31st against Utah State. There's some interesting things about the soccer team, and you hear people buzzing. We'll have hey, they only scored 1 goal. And they didn't score any goals in their 2 exhibition losses, which don't matter because they're exhibition losses. But 19th ranked Wisconsin of the Big Ten comes to Provo. You shut them out and you win 1-0. I don't care if you won 11-0 or 1-0 in your season opener, having lost 11 big time players, including 6 to the professional ranks, and you beat Wisconsin. More power to you.
Yeah, and we had Heather Olmstead on the show a couple weeks ago, and what did she tell us? We're really, really young, and we're really, really talented. And we're going to have to take a little bit of time to figure some things out, a couple exhibition games. But once we get going, I expect that we will compete for a Big 12 championship, and the goal is to get to the Cup.
Yeah, where they were last year.
Yeah.
But they might have to do it a little bit differently than being the nation's number one goal-scoring team.
They may have to learn a little bit here, and then
defense wins championships sometimes.
Don't doubt Heather Olmstead. Or not Heather Olmstead. Sorry, Jen Rockwood. Yeah. We had Jen Rockwood on the show. Don't doubt either of them, because we're going to talk about Heather next. Don't doubt Jen Rockwood. She knows how to coach up talent, and even though it's young talent, and that's what I was referring to. She told us we're going to be young, we're going to figure it out early, and by the home stretch, we're going to be good. And I love Jen's confidence, and that confidence is instilled in her players, and it shows out on the field.
And her reputation has her ranked third.
So now let's talk about Heather Olmstead, because we also had Heather on the show, right?
And the preseason coaches poll came out today.
Yeah, number 16 in the preseason coaches poll, women's volleyball. Wednesday exhibition, BYU versus Utah Tech at noon. It's at Millard High School in Fillmore. How about that?
That's cool.
Taking it on the road. I think that's really fun for Central Utah. Didn't Fillmore used to be the capital of Utah in the old days?
Yes, it did.
So there you go. And I didn't even grow up in Utah and take Utah history, but I did know that.
It's nice you know that. Blue-white scrimmage is at 1 Mountain Time at the Smith Fieldhouse on Saturday, and then they get closer to playing for Rio. But number 16, they're ranked in the top 20. In the top 16, they're just ranked all the time. You have reputation rankings for Jen Rockwood and Heather Olmstead.
Yes.
And then they back that up with talented players. But those two coaches win more than most.
I can't remember the last time a women's volleyball team was ranked outside of the top 16.
Yeah, I can't either.
They just always are. So
women's hoops, a Wise Guys shout out to Maria Albiero, the former Cougar, competing this week on the Brazilian national team in the pre-World qualifiers in Rwanda, Africa.
Very cool.
How about that?
Yeah.
Good luck to Maria.
Yeah. Hey, and we're sending our prayers out to our good friend of this show, a personal friend of both of us, John Beck. John and his family, we send you our love. John lost his younger brother, Andrew, to an unexpected death over the weekend.
Yeah, young guy.
Yeah, John is beloved by Cougar fans around the world. They've set up, if you go to John's social media, you can find some links. They've set up a GoFundMe to help Andrew's family. Andrew leaves a wife and kids behind. So you can go to any of John Beck's social media, and we encourage you to participate. And again, our prayers and our love go out to John and his family. John's dad, Wendell, was at BYU when I was there, was a track athlete. It's just a phenomenal family, and our hearts are just broken for them.
On this day, August 19th, if you can believe it is August 19th, a lot of things went on.
Yeah, they sure did.
1848, the New York Herald is the first Eastern newspaper to report the discovery of gold in California. Then what did everyone do?
Did that start the gold rush?
They went to California. Remember the 49ers. This is 48. The 49ers didn't start playing football until 49.
Right. So 1909, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway opens in Speedway, Indiana.
How about that?
Home of the Indianapolis 500.
I've been there for the Indy 500 on my internship. The station I worked for, the owner of the station owned the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Holman family. So I spent 2 months there at the Speedway. My first race ever in my life was in the pits at the Indy 500. I didn't appreciate it. I was overwhelmed, but, with no racing background, I didn't really, the Super Bowl, we played football our whole life. We get it. Racing, not so much, and then all of a sudden,
what a spectacle!
It is something.
You
else.
and I have both. We have that in common. We've both been to an Indianapolis 500. In the same week, I got to go to the Indy 500 and play golf at Crooked Stick, which is the home of one of the U.S. Open that John Daly won, all in the same week. Here's was my impression of, because I've never been to IndyCar racing before. I had been to a NASCAR race before, and in NASCAR it's the big, low, rumbling engines, right? Here's my impression of what it's like watching Indy 500. That's what it sounds like. They go by so fast.
And when they crash, explode because they're built to
high-pitched, crazy.
Yeah.
They're going 240 miles an hour down that front stretch. It's nuts.
It's like going. It's like I-15 on a Saturday night.
To go to that, you and I both are lucky that we've been able to do that.
Oh yeah,
it is amazing. So,
hey, by the way, BYU Sports Addict says Dave and Blaine try to get Greg Kite on the show. Done.
Yeah,
we'll do that.
We'll get Greg on. That's pretty. Yeah, we'll do that. So,
1957 on this day, the New York Giants board of directors voted to move their baseball franchise to San Francisco the following year, 1958.
Yeah,
so you got the Giants.
There you go. How about 1967's the Beatles? Their song "All You Need Is Love" hits the #1 on the charts.
1995 on this day, after 3 years in prison, Mike Tyson defeats Peter McNeely in 89 seconds at the MGM after McNeely's manager throws his towel into the ring. It was the biggest mismatch known to man. I was there ringside covering it for Channel 8 in Vegas, and it was literally like a lion against a I don't know what. And once you got in there and the trainer knew that Peter McNeely was about to get killed, he throws in the towel.
Oh, my gosh.
And everyone's so mad because who decided the fight? The trainer. Because once you throw in the towel, that's
it's over.
There's no, hey, didn't mean to do it. Anyway, I think Tyson got $25 million for that 89-second fight, and then he was back and off to the bank.
You and I have gotten to do a lot of great things, Olympic Games and Indy 500s and phenomenal sporting events. But I've never been to a heavyweight championship fight, and you have been to several, and you tell me that is like nothing else, and you never got me into one.
I know, but you never came down on fight night.
Okay, it's kind of
you got a lot of things down there, but not fight night.
Kind of my bad. So,
2020, Apple becomes the first U.S. company to be valued at $2 trillion, just 2 years after it reached $1 trillion valuation. How about that?
$2 trillion.
$2 trillion, and then it's $1 trillion, and then 2 years later, on this day in 2020, it's $2 trillion. And I wish we had some Apple stock.
So August 19th, on this day in 2024. You and I co-host Sports Nation.
That went down this morning.
And we were looking. We think we haven't co-hosted Sports Nation because we sub all the time.
Yeah.
With Jerem or with Jason or with Spencer. But us together on that show, very rarely.
They like to keep us apart because we're old school.
It's too much when we're together. It's too much for anybody to handle.
So we think it was the first time since, remember the fight in the Miami Beach Bowl?
Beach Fight Bowl.
And they brought us on to host the next day because Jeremy and Spencer were over playing on the beach in Miami or doing something. And I remember somebody's quote that sent in, they said, "Oh, I see you brought the parents in after the kids got in the fight."
So that's the last time. So today.
So it's fun. And it's, by the way, you can see it on BYUtv.org if you go there and you watch today's
great show today. So Diljit Taylor was in
she was
studio
awesome.
with us.
And we heard from LJ Martin.
Yeah, LJ Martin on the show. Yeah, it was a very fun show this morning.
I'm back on tomorrow.
Who are you in with? You and Jerem tomorrow?
Jerem's back. Yeah, I'm back on tomorrow and Wednesday, I think.
Well, and I think we're going to be on more often together. It won't be that long again until.
No, I don't think so. It's must-see TV.
Yeah. Let's talk about August 19th birthdays. In 1851, Charles E. Hires.
Why is that important?
Hires root beer.
Hires root beer.
He's one of my guys.
Yeah.
So
we've all put down a few Hires root beers.
Yeah. Do you like Hires or A&W better?
I'm okay with any kind of root beer.
Okay. Do you like homemade in like at a church event in the igloo cooler?
Only if an expert has put it together.
Okay. So I'm going to go with Hires.
So sometimes they skimp on the sugar.
Do you know what they say about A&W though? It has that frosty mug taste.
Yeah, it does. I remember going to A&W and ordering the Frosty Mugs.
Yes.
1871, Orville Wright was born.
Great aviator. 1906, Philo T. Farnsworth, the father of television and a BYU student.
Man, lots of birthdays.
And Philo, Rigby, Idaho.
Rigby, Idaho.
Right up the road.
Changed the world. Yep. 1919 on this day, Malcolm Forbes.
Yeah. Forbes 400. I'm not on it. You're not on it, but whoever did Apple was on it.
The Dallas Cowboys are like $11 billion now, their valuation, thanks to Forbes, according to Forbes.
Yeah. 1946, President Bill Clinton's birthday.
Yeah, what a story he is.
Yeah.
I was watching a couple clips, actually, of the guy on Saturday Night Live who did the best.
Oh, did Bill Clinton
impersonations? They're all over on YouTube. I was watching them, and that guy was so funny.
So August 19th.
Clinton gave him so much material.
Oh, gosh, yes. August 19th, deaths. 14 AD. So we're going back.
Yeah, this is old school.
14 AD. Augustus Caesar, the first Roman emperor, passed away on August 19th.
Since he was the first, we thought we'd acknowledge him today.
Yeah, that's for sure.
1977, Groucho Marx passed away.
So
our Wise Guys inspirational quote of the week comes from Mike Tyson.
I thought it was going to come from Groucho Marx, but I'm glad it's from Mike Tyson.
It's Iron Mike.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorites, and he's said some funny things, but this is so true. Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, that's a metaphor for life.
Yeah, that's Mike Tyson.
That's from Mike
Everybody's
Tyson.
got a plan till you get punched in the mouth.
Never in a million years, and I interviewed Mike Tyson a number of times, but never in a million years would I ever thought Mike Tyson, one, would be alive today and have a Broadway play, a one-man band Broadway play. I mean, he has reinvented himself. And you know what? To his credit, and I salute him, we saw him in some of his dark moments, and we saw him at the peak of his boxing career. And he's managed to have a life after a roller coaster. And you know what? He's getting ready to fight again. He's getting back in the ring. And I'm going to watch it.
Has anybody been more aggressive in the Mike Tyson used to come out and just go attack and just pummel people in the first round of a fight. That's what we want to see from BYU's defense.
Exactly what we want to see.
We want to see Mike Tyson type aggression from BYU's defense in 2 weeks.
Because you know Southern Illinois is coming in with a plan.
And but once they get punched in the mouth, then that plan goes down
out.
The tubes, as Mike would say.
Eric, by the way, said you guys did great today on BYUSN. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Yeah. Don't give us big heads.
Yeah. Austin Collie and Isaiah Kaufusi were fantastic tonight.
Yeah, thanks for coming on with us. Broke it down for us. Next week, it's game week. Southern Illinois preview. Gary Scheide and Larry Carr come on to the show. They were members of the first bowl team for BYU, that 1974 Fiesta Bowl. It's the 50th anniversary of that. So... and if you're a member of that 1974 team and like more information about the activities surrounding the August 31st game, go to the 1974 BYU football team Facebook page.
They're going to have a dinner the night before, and they asked us to get the word out.
Get the word out, but we're going to have two of your teammates on the show.
A parting shot from John, who says BYU is really blessed to have Diljit for our women's track team, and that is for sure.
And there was some talk in the chat about Diljit's new book, which we talked about today.
I Believe in Her.
Yeah, Believe in Her.
Which your wife's reading right now.
She's reading, and I got next.
And everyone else should read it. Everyone else should read it.
If you're a girl dad or a girl grandpa, or you date a girl, or you're married to a girl, you need to read Diljit's book.
Yeah.
That covers a lot of people.
And if you need some polishing up on the alphabet, C is for Cougar is also available.
Absolutely.
Our podcast will be out tomorrow. Share it with your friends. Please go to YouTube and hit our subscribe button. That's how we're going to grow this thing.
Yep.
And it's growing pretty good. And that's all free. And what is it about free? If it's free?
It's for me, and I'll take 3.
I'll take 3.
And don't forget, Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus.
Brady Plus, and we got some big things to announce in the very, very near future. Game week. We will see you next Monday. And then we'll be talking about seeing you Saturday at the Ledwood Stadium.
Very good.
All right.
See you
Thanks,
next week.
everyone.